Welcome to the very last Midnight's Edge After Dark of the year. I am Tom Connors. With me, as always, is my partners in crime, Mr. Jesse Miller of the Crow's Nest. How you doing?
Oh, I can't complain. You know, we got Cobra Kai tomorrow. That's a good thing. Then after that, there's nothing to look forward to for a while.
Now, doesn't that actually start like late tonight, like at midnight or whatever?
I don't know.
I
I thought it was like after New Year's, but I hope it's tonight. I really do.
Is it? I'll look it up. I'll find out. And that voice you hear, of course, is the one, the only Script Doctor PhD. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing awesome. I'm glad to be here with you gentlemen tonight.
We're glad to have you here as always. And joining us as a special guest, Mr. Fatal J in the house. How you doing? You're muted.
I do that all the time.
They kicked Boba Fett's butt throughout the entire episode. I'm glad to be here.
Yes, we might
You
talk
argue
a
they
little
kept
Boba
it
Fett.
consistent with Return of the Jedi.
True. He kind of went out like a bitch there too. Boba Fett, where?
He lost his gun. He couldn't aim his flamethrower.
You know, the only time Boba Fett's ever been doing Boba Fett shit was in the video game Boba
That's
Fett
true.
Bounty Hunter.
And the comic
The
books.
cartoon.
Yeah,
The
for
cartoon.
real. Like in the movie, and apparently on TV, he's never going to do any bounty hunting.
For the next 50 years, you know damn well here, like Han Solo's like, I beat Boba Fett single-handedly blind.
Yeah,
True.
he's true. But like Boba Fett did stuff in the holidays cartoon special. Like he was kind of hunting Solo there.
You know what? I totally forgot about that because that gives
Like
him
the
more,
first and last time he was cool.
that gives him way more
That's
screen
the only
time
time
than
we
the
ever
movies.
got to see him be Boba Fett.
But you
Right.
know that's
Pretty
true.
much,
Yeah, shouldn't there be like some really badass assholes out there in the galaxy? You go shoot Boba Fett, fuck them up. Wouldn't that be entertaining?
I'd like to
I
see
know.
Dengar.
I know that's not in
Dengar,
the
Boba
show
Fett,
because I could just predict it.
But yeah, so let's say hello to everybody, and then we'll get into the discussion here. We got Lindsay here. How you doing? We got Wiggles here. We got Cunning Linguist here. We got Professor Gray, Darcipio. I think Six is in the house as well. All hail Six. We got Sander here. We've got Laszlo here. How you doing? We got Just a Guy. We also have Goddess of Whim here as well. Welcome. We also have Dalbin and D-Bud Martin. We got Fanto5692. And we got Professor Gray with a super chat here who says, what's the point of Friday the 13th without Jason? Isn't that just an erotic film? Pretty much. You're not wrong. We're going to get into that shortly here. We got HVP here. We got Mr. Dragon. We got Rag Fear here. We got E. Clay Thomason is here. And we also have Pete Dencat. Welcome, everybody. Hit that like button. Share out the stream. We have Steven here as well, a.k.a. Deleted Scenes. Says, hail, Tom, Jesse, Script, Fatal Mods, and chat. Hail to you, Steven.
Hail,
Always
brother.
sends in a greeting. Thank you so much for that. We got Mecha J. We got B. James here. We got Zacharot here. So many regulars coming in. Spider Unlimited. So glad to see you guys. We got 70 Rock Fan here. I was just with him over on his channel talking some Beatles. So glad to see him here. So thank you so much for being here, guys. We got Punk Waddle and more. Thank you all for being here. We love it when you guys make it and can hit that like button and share it. It's always a good thing to do for us. Now, the big talk of the day, since there isn't really a whole lot of news going on, it's that slow part of the year, right? Script when it comes to Hollywood. Like pretty much everything's shut down.
Pretty much. Like everyone's doing their break. They've done their Christmas. They've done their Hanukkah. They're getting ready for their fancy New Year's party.
Mm-hmm.
And then once they recover from that, they start up with pilot season and development deals for summer movies and all that stuff.
Right.
And then the sucky movies come out next month, right? January.
The Screw You is January and February months. Yeah. That's the stuff that's wrapped production like a few months ago, and they're got their windows ready.
What was the movie? It was one movie that came out recently though that broke that curse, that Monday in February curse. Was it Black Panther? Did it break that?
Didn't that come out in February?
Deadpool broke the February curse.
I was gonna say there was a few February ones, but like January usually is a good month for horror films. But outside of that, I'm trying to think. No, you are right though, Fatal. Something did come out couple years back here in
I think it
January,
did.
and I can't
forgot
remember
that
what
they
it
had
was.
pushed Deadpool
Bad
as
Boys,
a,
was that it?
Valentine's.
Might have been Bad Boys.
I know Bad Boys did really well 2 years ago or so on.
Yeah,
in
before the
January.
beer, it was the last movie that really
One of the
came
last
out
big
before
movies, yeah.
before the beer virus came out. You know,
And
Yeah,
then there
that's right.
was
Bad Boys and
trying to think. There was a
Sonic.
couple years before that something came out in January
it was
too.
something that came out before that, though. You're right.
I'll
Chat,
remember
help
at
us
some
out,
point.
please. Help us, chat.
Was
We
it the
need
last
you.
Jumanji movie?
No, that came out in December.
I don't know, man.
Don't give them ideas, Sander. That's all we need because it's gonna be like Leslie Jones and that shit. Anyway,
Is she related to the refrigerator Perry? Just curious.
I can see the resemblance.
I mean,
Kenneth, I see Kenneth Rocky in
Yeah.
the chat. I sent some your way. Be on the lookout, man. I just saw your name pop up and I mailed it off. Something is coming your way. Best believe. Thanks for the support. Thank you.
there are some guys coming.
Yeah, there's guys coming to beat your ass up.
Hired goons, only the best.
Speaking of that, let's talk a little bit about that. I forgot to send George the link here. I got to remember. Send George. Hang on. I'm coming, George. George, I got your link here. Hang on.
Georgia Giant Slayer.
I should just get some of you guys into the chat thing here.
I want to know this though. I have a
I
few
suck at
questions.
those. What's up?
I'm scared of death of horror movies. I do like horror movies that are artistic, like what was that last movie that came out? With the goat. Remember the goat was at the end of the movie? It was a very eerie looking movie. I love the cinematography
The
of
Witch?
it. The Witch. I love horror movies like that. But when it comes to Chucky and Freddy Krueger, that stuff messes me the freak up. I told y'all the stories about the Chucky doll, my buddy doll that my mom bought me. Did I tell you guys about that?
I've heard that story. I do adore it.
Let me tell y'all something real quick. I promise you I'll be quick with the story. Okay, my mom bought me a My Buddy doll. If anybody know about My Buddy doll, it looks like Chucky, but
It really does. I had one.
but it came out before Chucky came out. So I had this doll I used to play with all the time. Please forgive me for playing with dolls. I didn't know. I was not in my right mind back then. But my cousins used to go to the VHS store and used to rent these movies out. And they made me sit down at my grandmother's house and we watched Chucky and I was scared to death. So this is the daytime. I went to my room, put Chucky in my buddy in the trash can, didn't think none of it, played the rest of the day, had a great time. My mom went to go take out the trash.
Nope.
She looked inside the trash can and see the doll in there.
She's like, I spent
said-
$60 on that thing.
She said that. My mom said these things are very expensive. What the freak is it doing in the trash can? So she reached in the trash can, put it right back in my bed. When I got done playing, this was like, you go inside when the street lights come on.
Yeah.
I walked up in the freaking room at 7 years old and seen that freaking doll right there in my bed.
With its head turned, looking at you.
Let me tell you something, and I'm not
Right
gonna,
back outside.
I'm not gonna cuss on the Midnight Edge.
You can cuss all you want, sir.
Okay, well, I shitted on myself when I seen that dog. And ever since then,
Did he
I
go,
have been-
hey, Jay, want to play?
I threw him in the closet, and I swear the entire night I could hear him moving. You know how a 7-year-old imagination is.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
I heard him moving, walking around. The next day, I threw him in the trash can again. Went to go play. My mom said, "What the freak is this, Chucky dog?" We had a trash can outside, the big trash can. What the freak is this dog doing in here again? She put it back on my bed. Came back from playing. The dog was right there in the bed.
It's like the returning Ouija board.
It took 3 days for my mom to realize that my big cousins made me watch that movie, scared me to death, and that's why I was throwing him in the trash can. So for
when
3
a
whole
7-year-old Jay is in the backyard with a can of gas and a My Buddy doll, everybody doesn't know what the hell's going on.
Bro, I was scared to death for 3 days. I was going through torture.
He's
3
just,
days.
so your mom is just like, that ungrateful little shit.
Your
For 3
mom's like,
days.
"Why do you want to go to church?"
I don't know what
You
my
wanna
mom was
ask the
thinking.
priest
She
what?
honestly didn't know, because I talk with my mom about this story all the time. She honestly didn't know how the dog was ending up in the trash can. She didn't know.
Well, and I
Still a
know the
beautiful
reason you're
story.
telling us this story because we're going to talk about some Jason here, but I want
Yeah.
to talk to you first, Fatal, about your comic book because I got it in the mail here a couple weeks back. Actually, like
Yes, sir.
shit, almost a month or two ago. But yeah, so here you go, kids. This is the comic book that Fatal put
Oh,
out.
that's nice and bright.
Yeah,
Thank you so much, Tom. Ninja Blast.
tell us a little bit about it.
Looks like
Ninja.
you
You
got a
want
nice
what?
watercolor there.
Ninja Blast is my love for ninjas movies. I was always in love with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The first movie, when I seen the first movie, that blew my mind. But I wasn't even a fan before I knew I was a fan. My mom used to buy me the curtains, the bread spreads, the pillowcases, all that stuff. She bought me the action figures. So it's really my mom's fault. She messed me up mentally, but she also gave me a great childhood at the same time. And Ninja Blast is basically a ninja revenge story. Let's just say this. I don't want to give too much away, but the story is a revenge story, and the main protagonist of this story is questioning his master deeds that he did to him. More like he hid some secrets for him, and now the main protagonist is at a point. I have to fight the main villain, and I might have to fight my sensei. So you guys check it out. I'm getting ready to close it because I'm almost fulfilled with mailing everything out. January will be the last month where I ship out every single thing. I only got a few more people to ship out to, and it'll be completely done. And then I'm gonna start working on Ninja Blast too. If you was in the chat and you help support, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I felt like I was talking too much.
So
No,
no. So like
that's totally how you do a pitch. It's TV.
yeah. So moving on from here, do you see a sequel going forward? Or are you going to do something else next? What's coming up for you in the future when it comes to comic books?
I have 2 more issues in my head. Then I have a origin story between the sensei and the main enemy.
You mean you
Really
plan this
set
out?
for everything.
This stuff been in my head for about 15 years.
So you plan this out more than the Star Wars trilogy? Are you telling us that much? Than the new sequel trilogy, anyway?
I have no disrespect to George Lucas.
Oh yeah, when people actually make things, they take the
No,
time.
I was talking about the new ones, but yeah. Anyway,
I'm gonna put it like this: it's more like a diluted version of J.R.R. Tolkien. I have a lot of, I got a lot of stuff planned out. I got origin story planned out, and I also have a spinoff planned off. And then I also got a story where one of the characters is a little kid, but we're gonna see him grown up, and he's gonna do a lot of violent things in the story.
now do you have a female that can replace your main characters so that you can sell this to a movie studio, or
I have some
could you see
very.
this as a gender swap at all?
I actually, in the spinoff, I actually have a very cool. I know you were joking, but
I was
Yeah,
waiting for this.
it's gonna be Fatal V. Duh.
I actually got a badass female character, samurai character, that is going to be introduced in this universe as well. So
Well, he
Is
better
it
watch
Ninja
his back if he
Blam or
sell
what
it.
is it?
Susie Samurai.
Susie Samurai?
she's going to be in the spinoff. She's going to be a very
nice.
cool lady. Yeah.
No, I got to read the book yet. I haven't got a chance to. So hopefully when I do, I'll do a review of it for you, and I will be honest. So yeah, when I get a chance to, I'll do a review. But is there any other ideas you have besides Ninja Blast that you want to work on eventually, or what you got? in mind?
Yeah, when I get Ninja Blast, when I get the whole arc and spinoffs and origins done with, I have something in mind. I got something like a Hellboyish type comic book I want to come out with too.
Like kind of an academy style thing, government run.
It's kind of like Hellboyish mixed with Superman Krypton type stuff. Just mash all that together. It's too early though.
right.
It's in the
Now-
infancy stage.
Now, what's your plan here? You're gonna finish off your initial arc, then you're gonna do an origin, then you're gonna do a side piece, and then you're gonna leave that to open up the rest of it to do another story.
In my head, I have 8 or 9 issues I want to get out of my system, and then I can start something new. But I'm just focused on the Ninja Blast universe right now.
Now I got to ask you, how do you feel about working with simians? Because I think there's
Yes.
a market for ninja monkeys,
Mm-hmm.
karate,
All martial arts.
all martial arts.
Martial art monkeys, essentially.
Yes,
Are you serious?
I'm serious. We
The
created
spirit of
the monkey cinematic universe where we're going to have all kinds of different, like karate monkey and all that stuff. Like it's going to be
What was
awesome.
it supposed to be? The Spectre of Harambe
Yeah,
is their
Yeah.
master.
It's a mixed
he's
martial
like their
arts
Splinter.
monkeys.
Yes.
M-Cube.
I actually, to be honest, I
Yeah, the
got this.
Shaolin monkey.
I got this anamorphic raccoon type character that I thought about too doing comic books with, where he's like in the hood and he
Raccoon in the hood.
yeah he
That in the hood after just about anything.
it's gonna
funny.
be like it's just anamorphic raccoon that's walking through the hood and just doing hood things and it's I had that in my head and I don't know if that'll work out or not. I don't know if it'll blow up, but maybe on down the line I'll
If you
try
look
it.
at him because he's a raccoon, he just nods at you like what?
So he's just like everybody just treats him like normal, but he is a raccoon doing normal human things.
yeah
That's awesome.
yeah.
Like we got used to it. It's a raccoon. No, it's
Yeah.
fine.
But you know what? The
He's got a
kicker
job.
the kicker of the show, the kicker of the comic is people is not going to acknowledge the fact that he's a raccoon.
That's even better.
He was just born and raised in the hood, and everybody accepted him, and he's just going to be doing hood things. So maybe that'll come down the line. I don't know. Maybe if people hate it, they hate it.
You know what? If you could avoid the Rocket Raccoon comparisons by making him a chimpanzee.
But it's
Who
been
knows kung fu?
but it's been raccoons before Rocket Raccoon, haven't it?
Yeah, but he's popular.
Oh yeah. Hey.
But as long as he loves his grandma. You know.
There was Ents before there was Groot.
Oh Lord! So let's move along to this news story here, and I apologize, Jay, that this is a little out of your purview with the horror movie stuff, but
It's all good, man.
This is just legal mess.
this is something that we've been talking about for a while on the channel. We've been following.
dude,
It
looked like it was going to get better for a while, and then it just shit the bed.
Well, we
'Cause
don't
it's
exactly.
ending, but it's a mess. It's like they drop pickup sticks, and they're like, there's where we're at.
I'm going to read the article, but like to be clear up front, we don't exactly know everything that's happening yet because we're getting this as like secondhand information from Larry Zerner, who was in Friday the 13th Part 3, for those who don't know.
He's Shelly.
Yeah, he was the guy who played Shelley. Anyway, it's been a long road, but it appears we're heading toward... I'm going to make this bigger. This is tiny as shit.
Yeah.
Jesus. It's been a long road, but it appears we're heading towards some sort of closure in regards to the Friday the 13th rights battle. Oh, we got another person joining us. Hello, Culture. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, Culture Casino, what up, sir? Usually he on camera.
And not muted, yeah.
Must be dealing with his...
And usually he have little stuff sparkling in the
is.
background and fireworks and all that type of stuff.
Well, Fatal J, I would do that for you, except that right now I'm just trying to get the camera to work.
I just
No
Culture, I just want you to do this for me.
Yes.
Record yourself talking for an hour, and it'll help me relax when I get off work.
Well,
So
thank you.
man, you just got just a soothing voice. Sir.
I
You
tell
want
you
that
what,
ASMR?
I'm gonna talk about this beautiful comic book that I got in the mail from you.
Yes,
And
sir.
you know what? I need to relaunch the camera again. I'll be right back, sir.
All right, my friend.
Just when I made him big.
Wow, he usually takes a lady to do that, but
I'm pretty good.
See, I'm a fucking nerd. I was thinking about that. That was a Zoltar that tells your future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like from the movie Big. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, when Culture comes back here, we'll have him actually read the article then, since he's here.
Ooh.
And it looks like somebody shared it already in the chat.
Oh, not in this one, but
Was it me?
Yep, thank you. Gotcha. I got
But
it.
if anybody out there doesn't know, Shelley, who he's an entertainment lawyer now, so he's been following this case since it started, and he pretty much gives the play-by-play on everything that happens.
Play by play. Wow, I'm still like stuttering. I don't know what's going on. I
You're
tell you what,
stuttering Culture.
I will just do it. I will just do it off camera. We'll just
See, that's what happens when you start singing Godspell.
Yeah,
That's your
true.
fault.
You even knew what it was, dude. I love that. All right, here we go. Breaking. The Friday the 13th case is allegedly officially over, and Victor Miller once again owns his screenplay. It's been a long road, but it appears we're headed towards some sort of closure in regards to the Friday the 13th rights battle. Friday the 13th Part 3 star and entertainment lawyer Larry Zerner has been keeping fans updated on the progress of the messy legal battle over the franchise's rights that's pitted Sean Cunningham / Horror Inc. against original screenwriter Victor Miller. According to Zerner, the case is officially over as Cunningham / Horror Inc. has failed to file a cert petition by the 4 p.m. deadline. As of this writing, Victor Miller is allegedly still the official rights holder of the original Friday the 13th screenplay in the U.S. only. So from the tweet, it's 4 p.m. and I still don't see a cert petition filed with the Supreme Court in the Friday the 13th case. What does this mean? Well, it means the case is officially over. And Victor Miller owns the rights to his screenplay in Friday the 13th, but only in the U.S. What does this mean for the future of the Friday the 13th franchise and Jason Voorhees? Well, it's a bit complicated, but the two sides working on or reaching a resolution would be the best case scenario for horror fans. If the two sides fail to reach any sort of agreement, here's how the rights break down, according to Zerner. Can Victor and Sean just each make their own separate movies? Not really, because Victor only owns U.S. rights, and only to the first script, and Sean owns adult hockey mask-wearing Jason, but can't legally use him in a movie without Victor's permission. It's complicated. To put it simply, my understanding is that Victor Miller could allow a studio to produce Friday the 13th remake, but it could only be released in the United States. What's new to this writer is that Sean can't legally use Jason Voorhees in a movie without Victor's permission, and truly is crippling. I see we have a new member.
Just keep going. You're fine.
Okay. The hope here is that the two parties can come to some sort of an agreement and move forward together. Otherwise, it's going to be exceptionally hard to find a workaround to the legal ramifications. If you'd like to learn more about the entire case, you can start here. There's a link, by the way, or get a more recent recap by clicking here, which is another link. We'll report back with any updates as soon as they come in. You can also listen to Zerner talking about this specifically if you go to this webpage, and if that's something.
Jesse, we should try to get a hold of him.
Yeah, it'd be great.
That'd be cool.
It'd be great.
Yeah, I think we should.
I'm still stuttering. What is going on?
I don't know, but you read that.
Issue.
You read that so well. I didn't even care. It just made me think everything would be okay.
Why do you think I have him do it?
Well,
except for all that stuff about they own it, but in the U.S. only.
This is where this is where things get complicated. And we brought this up way back when we have one of the earlier videos I ever worked on was this specific case. And yeah, that was a big part of it. Was this is mainly has to do with U.S. copyright law. And now Script and I talked a little bit about this before the show, and we think we kind of have it figured out as to why it's quote unquote complicated when it comes to Jason. Now, I don't know if you want to explain that, because since you know this stuff a little bit better, Script.
Okay, so basically, from my understanding of this article and the situation, as far as I know it to be, is that Victor Miller owns the Friday the 13th script, and I guess the character subsequent of that script, which includes Jason Voorhees. However, I believe that unless if they want to use Jason Voorhees, they have to go to Victor Miller. But if they want to use Jason Voorhees, that's kind of like the undead version, the zombified version with the hockey mask, they have to go to the other screenwriter as well. And they have to get both of their permissions if there's going to be a third writer or another party involved for that character.
He can't even use him without asking Victor.
Yeah, like even just the hockey mask version of him, you still have to ask Victor for permission of that.
And that is because he's derived from
because it's essentially just an evolution of the original character, but it's still that character with that lineage, that connection to Mrs. Voorhees, that connection to Camp Crystal Lake. All that stuff is the foundation of the Jason Voorhees we've seen in like all the movies subsequent, really.
Yeah, so theoretically now, let's say if Sean S. Cunningham didn't want to deal with all that shit, he could have a hockey masked killer He just couldn't be Jason Voorhees, basically.
Correct.
Well, actually, I think that that's not in the agreement. He would still have to ask him for some reason.
I don't know about that part, because I think that's the whole thing, is that once you get to that point, I think Sean owns that stuff.
Yeah, but if it's like, here's hockey mask guy at Camp Crinkle Lake.
That technically you can get away with that.
Yeah, that's what we're saying.
Because the hockey mask is kind of a
it.
public image. Anyone can wear one and not be directly associated with Jason Voorhees' character. So the one that we see in the picture here, you could still just have another white-faced hockey mask with different orientation of air holes, different eyes, different pattern on it, and you're clear. The other part too, I would say, to play it safe, is don't make the serial killer wearing the mask the same type of height and build as the other Jason, and you should be clear sailing.
So make him a short, skinny guy, and you're fine. That's not intimidating.
You can make him like an average height guy, like broad shoulders, but just don't have the belly.
Just kind of make it 25% different, basically.
Basically, we're talking about making part 5 again.
Sure.
You mentioned that because I was just going to say, Jesse, that one way around this could be like work out one picture deal with Victor, kill off Jason for good, and then just have like Tommy Jarvis take over the mantle.
Well, they could have Roy Burns come back from the dead.
Yeah, fuck that noise.
Through the magic of Camp Crinkle Lake.
Camp Crinkle. I love your little.
What about Evergreen, Forest Evergreen, or Evergreen?
That's what they changed the name to in part 6 anyway. So so as complicated as these things are now, let's say this much, because I think the reason that Sean gave up was A, money, and B, they may be working something out behind the scenes. Because look, nobody makes any money unless something gets made, and this franchise has sat dormant now longer than it ever has before.
I know, and it's crazy because the fans out there want it. The people who played the game begged for this shit to be over.
Let me put it to you this way.
Just like, here, take our money. No, we're not going to take your money. Well, good on you. Smart move.
We got Jay in the chat for Drunk 3POs here for Fatal J, just so you know.
We have 2 J's.
Double J. And I also want to welcome Munchkin to the maximum effort puppy level while I got a second here. But yeah, so basically I think they're working shit out behind the scenes. And yeah, this has been the longest we've ever went without a Friday the 13th movie. Because when we did the video, that was the longest patch. So we're way beyond that now. Right? Like, so we're so far beyond it, it's not even a conversation at this point. It's just basically like they need to get something off the ground. And if they want to make any money, they got to make a goddamn movie. The game proved, as Jesse will tell you, that there's still a little bit of gas in the tank. People are, I mean, you still play the game once in a while, Jesse. Are there a lot of people?
Yesterday, there's people that are playing.
Yeah, it's still a pretty popular game.
It's not even just that. I mean, think about it. I love this IP. I always have, just like Halloween, right? Halloween just made Halloween Kills. It did pretty well in the midst of a global crisis, right?
Yeah, so, I want Jason to get some fucking love, man. That's all I want. Because he is the boogeyman to me. Like, when I was a kid, he was the guy. Because I saw part 7 first.
Well, honestly, I agree with Culture. That's the best way to do this right now. Get these guys together. Get Sean and Victor to bury the hatchet. Make a Halloween Kills kind of movie. You get Tommy Jarvis back. You get the chick from part 7 back. Get anybody back who's still alive. Have like this massive like reunion kind of movie, and just make it a big event. And I think it'll make a hell of a lot of money.
Which Tommy Jarvis though? Feldman,
yes.
Yeah, Corey Feldman would do it.
You got to get Corey Feldman, and then you know what else you do? You get Kane Hodder to play Jason. That's what you fucking do.
Oh, that would you gotta have Kane Hodder. Holy cow! You ain't going nowhere without Kane Hodder. Whenever they do a different guy as Jason, I'm just like, why are you bothering? He's right there.
I mean, that'll be the big pull, right? You get all the remaining people back plus Kane Hodder, and you're good to go.
Every time I see a new Jason, way home. every time I see a new Jason, I just want to drop a machete and go, look, we're having tryouts. Fight Kane Hodder.
We have a very special guest joining us. Jay. And yeah, Jay's muted. But we also have a very special guest joining us. Please welcome a good friend of the channel, our fifth Beatle here, as we call him,
Let's see,
Mr.
let's see.
Robert Meyer Burnett.
Oh,
Good day,
snap.
Robert.
I mean, you know, it's just being called special. It's I feel that's very nice. Very nice of you to say, sir.
You are one of those gentlemen who have like a place at the table no matter what. We always set a place for you just in case you show up.
Well, it's, you know, you always send me links and I never know. Like sometimes I don't see them till hours later. I just saw the link that you sent me. I'm like, are they on now or not? Or so here I am.
I know I try to delete them so you don't end up clicking on bad links. So like that's usually what a lot of the removed things are.
It's funny,
so.
just to drop a name. I was just talking to my friend Michael Davis, who directed a movie called Shoot 'Em Up.
Oh,
You
yeah.
ever seen that with
I know
Clive
Shoot 'Em
Owen?
Up.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
Hey.
I know the movie.
But I did see Dragon's Dogma.
Uh,
Then was you behind that? I thought you was behind that.
about Dragon's Blood.
No, I thought you was behind Dragon's Dogma. I only watched that because I thought you was behind that show.
No, Dota Dragon's Blood. I worked on
I watched that.
that. I worked on that, and it's the season 2 starts next month.
It's dope. Thank you, sir, for doing that for us.
Well, you're welcome. I think season 2 is bonkers.
Okay.
You're gonna love season 2. It was funny because when I worked on, I'm like, really? Like I'd ask because I would see him episode by episode, kind of like it's like watching the show, except I had to wait months between episodes, and I'd be like, "Where's this gonna go, man?" So I'm glad you liked it because
I told my wife I was watching it. I said, I know the guy that did this show. She said, "Shut up." No, you don't. I said,
Yes.
all right.
yeah, and it's funny because Ashley Miller, who created that show, I gave him his first. He wrote the script for Agent Cody Banks. That sold him and Zach Stentz wrote. That's the script that sold to the studio, and then they decided they wanted to make it for tweens. So they
Great! That's always a great move.
Yeah, it would have been a $200 million movie, and it would have still probably been running today. But nope. The studio said, let's make it for teens. Tweens.
So Robert, how many years do you think it's going to take me to get a proper Jason movie like Halloween Kills?
Oh, you could get a better Jason movie than Halloween Kills.
Yeah, I'm sure. We were just talking about that actually, because I don't know if you heard or not, but the long going Friday the 13th case seems to have come to an end.
Oh yeah, no, I've been following. I don't know how much I can say about this.
Please say as much as you want.
Well, say way more than you should.
All I can say is that there is another creator, a good creator, that is working on something that is now free and clear to make it because this lawsuit is free and clear.
Ooh.
Something that no one has really tackled before.
Oh,
Is
interesting.
it a creator that happens to wear nail polish?
Yes.
I know who it is. I'm
Is
not gonna say
he
anything.
related to a guy who may or may not have directed a werewolf movie in the 80s?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so it's not
No.
who I thought of when.
Oh, I thought
Script
y'all
said
talking
that.
about Marilyn Manson, man.
No, I was thinking of somebody else.
No.
I think Script knows who I'm thinking of.
I'm like every 80s band dude ever.
Okay, so that actually answers another question I brought, or not so much a question, but something I posited earlier, is that the reason that Sean just let this go now is that they've worked something out behind the scenes. Because we were just kind of getting to, is that nobody makes any money unless something gets made at this point. So it makes no sense for them to just keep battling it out in court. It's been the longest it's ever been since we've had a Friday the 13th movie. Going off of what Jesse said as far as like the whole kind of Halloween Kills kind of idea, bring back, Corey Feldman, the chick from Part 7, anybody who's still alive, get Kane Hodder to play Jason, do like an ultimate Friday the 13th movie. But it sounds like something.
Yeah, not a
little bit more
reboot
about
or
that,
anything
so-
like that.
Okay,
Just like
I
a
have to tell you,
continuation.
the thing that I know about Jason's not in it.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
It's
That's
the
all I'm
mom.
gonna say.
It's
That's all
the
I'm gonna
mom,
say.
ain't it?
wow.
Yeah. Because
That's all
remember,
I'm gonna
Uh-oh.
say.
the only Jason movie I ever really watched all the way through was the one with the mom, the first one.
My
Really?
excitement just went out the window.
It's
Oh.
gonna be the mom, man. I'm telling you.
I mean, Victor Miller technically owns that character too. so-
Yes, he
Yeah.
does. And if
Yep.
that's the case,
Oh yeah, no,
then-
it had to be. By the way, the people involved, you'd be very excited because it's not just it's not just the person that would write and direct; it's also the producer.
But it's a reboot.
Not necessarily.
Nope,
No,
I would say
yeah.
no, it's not.
Interesting. You're making me too many questions.
Yeah.
Different directions.
they bring in Mama Vorhees back from the dead.
I can't say.
That's
I
an
want
He ain't
X.
got no
That's a yes.
head.
I want to see the mama. I want to see the
No
mama.
one, no one's being brought back from the dead.
Oh,
Okay. All right.
No, nope.
Now, I just
All
want
right.
to see Corey Feldman versus Kane
Well, look.
Hodder because Corey Feldman is short
Yeah.
and Kane Hodder is a monster.
Yes.
Yeah, he look great.
Yes.
I don't know if I can. I just don't know if I can do it without Jason.
I thought this case though wasn't this. I mean, this is being reported now, but didn't this happen like last month?
I mean, that's maybe why he didn't file, because that's the whole thing. Is the guy who was reported, where this is all coming from, was the guy who plays Shelley, Larry Zerner, has been like tweeting out about this and talking about this. And there was a deadline, I guess, yesterday by 4 p.m. that if Sean hadn't filed, then that basically means the case is done with.
Yeah.
So that's where I was thinking that they must have worked something out behind the scenes. So you're probably right. They probably did about a month ago. Obviously, you know more than you can say right now. So yeah. Or something was never worked out and Sean just gave the fuck up.
No, because I actually sent some people some emails, congratulatory emails.
All right. Well, you know, I know people,
exactly.
but everybody's been pretty hush hush to me on this. So I'm going to just say that nobody said shit to me. This is the first time hearing about any of this.
Well, you know, it's been pretty under the radar because a lot of people didn't know that this case was even going on.
I know, and that's sad.
Well,
Yeah.
and we've been following it at Midnight's Edge since it broke, because that's kind of our domain. And yeah.
But
so this kind of comes
To
to
me, it's hard to avoid because I ain't getting any DLC for like ever.
But if you're going to put this together, this particular film, this is the opportune time to do it because it's almost been 13 years since the last Friday the 13th
like it.
film. So you're lining up 13 years with Friday the 13th. I think that would be an interesting thing to do.
By the way, I would say this, the thing that I know about would not interfere with doing another Friday the 13th movie.
Does it have to do with Elijah?
So I can't say anything about. I just know that if you heard about the idea, it's very exciting, and then they could still make a Friday the 13th movie.
Okay, I guess here's the question that might answer something for me that you can maybe tell me that might not be giving away too much, but can still answer a question. Is it going to be called Friday the 13th?
The thing that I know about?
Yes.
I don't know.
I think it's a prequel that covers what happened way back in the day when you started going crazy.
I honestly don't know because they did the Friday the 13th TV series.
Yeah, and I had that.
Well, the reason I ask is because all right, it's a trick question because Sean Cunningham still owns the name, right? He still owns the Friday the 13th name. That's something that's never been in question. The reason this whole thing comes to a head here and is before there was no real question on, what was in the first film, what Victor Miller had a right to. But now it sounds like you have to play ball with him to be able to use Jason, period. Doesn't matter which version it is.
Right.
So like, that's where this is new news added to this, because before there was always kind of that, well, you could use adult Jason, but how much you could use of him is a questionable. And as we kind of came to, as long as you do a 25% different Jason and change the name, you could basically get away with it at this point if Sean wanted to. Well, because there's certain aspects of the character that are just, as long as they're different, then there's nothing they can do about it.
Look, I think what Jason Blum did with Halloween shows, I am not a fan of those Halloween reboot movies at all. However, and that's because, Halloween was the first movie I ever bought on pre-recorded video cassette, and I probably saw it 100 times.
Wow.
And I really didn't like but what does that, they made a lot of money. So from a
I didn't like the first one, but then when the second one happened, I got it.
I just wish that they started. I just wish they picked up after part 5.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, part of the reason my movie Free Enterprise happened was because of Ellie Cornell, who's in Halloween 4 and 5, and so it was.
Those are my favorite ones.
I have. Did you get the new collection of Halloween discs?
Yes, I did.
No, why they got them all out of one set now?
No, but they came out in 4K.
I don't know if Jesse did.
They're they're beautiful.
That big
I love the idea. I thought the idea of doing a Halloween anthology movie every year would have been great.
Oh, I was with Tommy. I talked to Tommy about that, and he agreed. Yeah.
I love Halloween 3. Hell, I like Fright Night too.
Well, and he said though the problem was they should have done it with starting with 2, but Universal wouldn't have it. They
Right.
wanted a Halloween movie with Michael Myers, and they wouldn't do it any other way because that was the initial plan.
And I liked Halloween 2. It's still my favorite Halloween sequel.
It is. It is the best of the sequels. But like, here's my thing with the new ones. Robert is like, I hated 2018.
I hate
But
it.
then I saw Halloween Kills, and let me tell you, I get everybody's complaints with the film. It has a horrible fucking script. But you know what? Midway through the movie, I'm realizing, I'm like, this is just like every fucking 80s slasher movie. Like, it is making every same mistake. It's got a bad script. It's got unbelievable characters. It's got over-the-top bullshit. And I'm having fun because it is that goddamn ridiculous. Like, it was just... So at that point, I'm like, you know what? Halloween is choose your own adventure at this point. I'm okay with this.
See, Halloween 1 and
I don't know what
Halloween 2,
happened.
because I saw
just-
them later. I always considered it one story. You
Yeah,
know?
Halloween 1 and 2 are like this because it's the same night.
Yeah. Yeah, for real.
Yeah, it's the same night. So it is, and I, you know, but I don't know. I
That's
mean,
kind of what
I
they were trying to do with these new movies is they were trying to take away, because the original idea for Michael Myers, as you know, was he was just supposed to be stalking babysitters. It had nothing to do with a sister. That was all added in the second film, and John Carpenter hated that.
Yep.
Because he was drunk when he came up with it, and he said he did it because he had nothing better to do, and he couldn't come up with any other reason for Michael to come after her in the hospital.
no, I mean, I'd be one of the things about. I think slasher movies are too tame now. With Halloween,
agree.
with Halloween Kills, Michael Myers is killing a bunch of people. We don't have any problem with killing a bunch of people, but what happened to teenagers that were being punished for having premarital sex and where all that underpinning? I mean, we have completely taken the exploitation out of our exploitation.
I
used to
agree.
love
Yeah, you're
watching.
right.
I used to love watching them Jason movies when I was a kid.
I didn't want to go that lowbrow, but like the one thing that Halloween Kills didn't have was tits.
I mean, look, the single greatest Fatal J, I have to say, I used to go, let's call it, when I grew up in Seattle, not a very rough city, you know, or anything like that, but I would go see slasher movies at, let's call it, an urban theater.
I understand, my friend.
Because I loved the audiences.
They talk all the way through the movie.
The single greatest movie-going experience I ever had in my life to this day was
Especially
Friday the
horror
13th
films, yeah.
3D.
Oh yeah.
I think I was the only. I mean, first of all, do not underestimate how smart and funny audiences like that can be, because the one-liners, the stuff that comes out of people,
and they talking to the characters like the characters hear them.
I mean, I mean, it was the single greatest movie going, and my
upstairs, bitch.
my favorite thing that the guy sitting right behind me said, one of the girls comes on screen and he said, "Put some lipstick on my dipstick," and I just the whole audience lost it. And the funny thing was, I have to say that I would go see all the slasher movies at this theater, but I always understood. I always wondered, why is it that predominantly black audiences do the call and repeat in horror films? Why? I didn't figure it out until I went to college. And I was in college and I was taking a course called The Making of Meaning. And in it, we went to a Southern Baptist church. Now, I grew up in a white environment. I'm like, I had no clue. I was in a Southern Baptist church, and I'm like, that's where, you know, white people were all quiet. We don't say
quiet during church. Yep.
Just like in church, man. And I'm like, you go to a theater, it's the movie is the preacher. You know, the Friday the 13th movies were the preacher, and the black audience was full of the spirit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm like, I'm never going to see a slasher movie in a theater that isn't predominantly black. And when I went to USC, Magic Johnson, that area had taken over theaters. So you could go to the Magic Johnson theaters in like South Central LA. They were the best places to go see slasher movies or horror movies.
I'm the total opposite.
Best.
I'm the total opposite, man, because I'm loving the streaming experience, because I hate when people are talking in the movie theater. It just drives me crazy.
I do too, except in slasher movies.
I understand the slasher movie thing, yeah.
Because, and I have to say, there was a theater in Seattle. It's no longer there, and it was in downtown Seattle called the Town Theater, and it was a good theater. That's where like I saw Poltergeist open in 70 millimeter there. I've seen so many movies there, but that's where I saw Friday the 13th 3D, and it was in 3D. You know, it was because that in that year it was what 80 was it 83 82. You had Metal Storm, Jaws 3D, Friday the 13th 3D coming at you. All those. That was the great to this day. If someone says what's the greatest movie going experience in your life, Friday the 13th Part 3D, because that audience blew the roof off that theater. Blew the roof off. They loved it so much. But I'm with you. I don't like people talking in movie theaters, and we don't have
some guy on his cell phone. You got to hit him with a soda.
Well, that's the thing. He's not interested in the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
It's when you go to a slasher film, the people were so immersed in what was going on, and they were also scared as fuck. They were scared. They were genuinely scared, and that's what made it fun.
Yeah, because when it comes to black people, we very superstitious type people. So yeah, I bet it was very entertaining to watch that crowd.
Dude, it was great. It was so great. It was so much fun because the love for, like, I could go in there and be like, it's just a slasher movie. No. For this audience, this was the most important movie that was in theaters, and it was great.
Well, Friday the 13th 3D has probably one of the best 3D experiences of that time.
Oh my God.
Like, of all the movies, you had Amityville and all those other ones that came out, Jaws even, Friday the 13th did the best. Yeah. And of course, that was the first time we saw the hockey mask too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, before it was a sack.
I never understood the lore of Jason, okay? How did he go from dying as a little boy to turn into a...
Don't ask.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
They don't explain it.
Oh, okay.
If
they
you want
never
to go
did
there,
explain it.
Well, technically, Adam Marcus did try to add some lore to it. And if you go by Adam Marcus, which is the one who made, he's the guy who made Jason Goes to Hell, he basically says that Jason is a Deadite, that his mom was messing around with the Necronomicon.
Yeah, that movie was not my favorite.
I hate that because it's just such an easy way out of creating your own war.
Oh no, there's definitely something with regards to the location of Camp Crystal Lake that you could have fun with that kind of keeps Jason and his mother a little bit more on the pure side, air quote.
Yeah, I always thought it was something between the tie between him and his mother, because his mother was the only one who ever cared about him. So like that very deep emotional connection could create residual energies or something like that, or something. Do something with it.
They weren't paying attention.
Well, and I miss that.
I don't hold anything against Pamela.
I've always said it. The best two moms in cinema history, Sarah Connor and Mrs. Voorhees, because they will kill for their sons.
That's true.
Over and over and over again.
As many times as required.
No, I mean, look, would I like to see a Friday the 13th? I think now is the perfect time, and have it come out and do another one. I mean,
especially if he's at a modern day campus.
I would love. I would love
thing as a safe space.
Yeah, that. You know what? There you go.
Yeah, we basically get what Jason Takes Manhattan had promised to be, but it would actually be
just pure body count.
Jason Takes Manhattan should have been him on Broadway slaughtering people auditioning for.
It's basically the last 10 minutes of the movie we got. Like, the best bit is when he's walking down the street and those guys are sitting there with the ghetto blaster and he fucking kicks it and they're like, motherfucker, and he turns around and just lifts his mask up and they're like, we're cool. Like, that's the best. Like, we needed a whole movie of that. That was what the movie was supposed to be, and we got like 10 minutes of it, if that.
I would love to see because Jason on campus, though.
He was supposed to just indiscriminately kill everyone he runs into. They're between him and his objective. He's just like, there's all these people in New York that he totally didn't kill.
Look, I'm not saying it was Toronto most of the time, wasn't it? Script, or was it Vancouver? One of the two. It was Canada. I know that.
Yeah, it was Canada.
Look, I'm not trying to be that guy, but I haven't watched the Friday the 13th movies in years. Do they still have those scenes where you have a couple going somewhere?
They used to. That used to be one of their staples.
I know that's like the main thing that get people really, No,
but that's what Robert was getting at, is that's the kind of stuff that's missing from these horror movies. And you're not wrong. It's definitely missing from Halloween Kills. Like, is the indiscriminate, just like You know, the whole point of these movies is if you have sex and you do drugs and you do bad things, you're going to end up dead from this killer because most of the time, you know, that's the kids not paying
I mean,
attention and whatnot.
to me,
It's the sin of cinema.
You playing with my emotions, and I like that because here I am, and then you know, all in one. That's a move. That's like a roller coaster ride.
It's cathartic, yeah.
Just a little weird thing from part 8, though. Do you guys remember when he goes into that diner or the bar or whatever, and that big dude tries to stop him, and he throws him across the bar into the mirror?
Yeah,
that guy I think later played Jason.
Oh, is that
really?
What's his name? Ed Kersinger or whatever.
Yeah. So like Kane Hodder is just still.
They knew each other. Yeah.
I mean, you guys, Tom, you have the box set, but everyone had the Shout Factory box set, right?
I do. I don't know about everybody else.
I just have the individuals on DVD. I didn't go to the Blu-ray yet because
I haven't been able to find a box set with all of them. But Lindsay just got one, so I got to get one that she's got.
That's the one she has. Yeah.
Nick Fame, thank you so much. Why haven't anybody thought about a movie where Jason teams up with somebody like Michael Myers, not versus? Team up and just go on a slaughtering spree.
Well, that's just the thing. Like, what would Jason do if he came up and he just saw Michael Myers just brutally slaughtering someone?
To me, I think they would shake hands and say, "Let's get it on."
Yeah, he might just be like, he might just give him the head shake, like,
Yeah, like it's time to
just a nod and going on their way.
Just massacre the hoes.
That's why I wish we had gotten the series going with, like, you know, Freddy versus Jason versus Ash and moved on farther than that, because I think those things would have been more possible.
Actually, it would have been better if Jason and Michael Myers exchanged the "be seeing you" from The Prisoner when they walk by each other.
Well, that's the thing, is if you could have like a team up movie, like you're right, Michael and Jason on one side, Freddy and Chucky on the other. Like that would be.
Why does Freddy get Chucky? Chucky could
because those two are so. Because those two are so, like, personality wise.
Yeah, you need Chucky for the jokes. You need Chucky.
Those
for the
two
jokes.
would not get along, and
I'm on team no talking, no jokes.
And then basically, Pinhead would just be the referee, basically.
Oh wow!
I'm surprised they haven't thought about that since we already doing Marvel Cinematic and all that.
You have till midnight.
Have a killer cinematic.
Well, right. As a head hell priest, can he orchestrate such an event?
That's what I'm saying. He's like, you got till midnight to bring me enough souls.
That'd be pretty easy for them.
We need a KCU, a killer cinematic.
What we need is a case of wine and a notepad.
Blumhouse would be great at that, and they almost had that for a while. Legendary was trying because they bought the rights to Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and they were trying to get the rights to a bunch of the other ones too. I don't know if you remember that, Robert, but Legendary was trying for a while there.
I mean, you know, it's interesting because my first job
was on 3, wasn't it?
Was Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. Yeah, yep. Leatherface. That was the first movie I ever worked on. And what was really interesting about that, New Line had acquired the rights, and they wanted, because the Freddy, I worked on the very end of Nightmare on Elm Street 5, the Dream Child.
Yep.
And then basically cleaning up. And then
so you got to clean up all the candy glass, huh?
No, well, I was on set when they were doing like the motorcycle gags and
stuff.
Okay. It was awesome. And what happened
the famous story was they were cleaning up that candy glass for hours after that famous last shot with the doors keep slamming.
Oh yeah, that wasn't I was there on set, and then I had to go. Basically, I had a bunch of stuff at the time. New Line, it was awesome because they had I was in the art department, so there were 2 production designers, brothers and sisters, CJ and Mick Strawn, and they would switch off on the movies. So you'd have movies that got made like The Hidden, and the Friday the 13th movies. And so I just would go pick up stuff, and it was great. I loved it. But the thought was, and this is kind of Hollywood thinking, the Texas Chainsaw is not pleasant. And I think what they wanted to do with the Nightmare on Elm Street films, which I really liked because the fantasy set pieces I thought were really imaginative and interesting. But with Friday the 13th, I'm all mixed up. But with Texas Chainsaw Massacre, because it's based on, it's not fun. Like Leatherface is not. He's a real person, and it's a family that
I think that Toby did it about as fun as you can with 2.
You know, chasing that kid in a wheelchair through a cornfield was one of the best scenes in a horror movie ever.
I mean, but the first Texas Chainsaws, even today, is really rough.
Fucking brutal.
It's really rough, and to try and turn, and they've tried to do it over the last 30, 40 years. How many times they keep trying to make these
Well,
movies?
Rob Zombie's been trying to make that movie again for the last 5 movies.
Yeah, I mean he's kind of done it with his own.
Yeah,
But the problem is
that's what I
those
mean.
movies
Yeah.
they're not fun the way slasher movies are fun. And you can't make, if you're going to turn Leatherface into a cackling character like Freddy Krueger,
No, he's not the same. No,
it's not the same. And what was really interesting was Texas Chainsaw 3 ran into huge problems at the ratings board. It got rated X over and over and over again. They had to
well, it's the unrated version that's on the Blu-ray now, right?
but even that version's really tame
Chopped down
compared to the stuff that they did. And Ironcaster here, he's absolutely right. They're gonna do all of these, the Jason verse, the thing, because everyone thinks what Hollywood thinks is that, oh, the multiverse idea is what makes money.
Oh Lord,
And it's like,
I knew that was going to be the problem.
Multiverse is the new remake, reimagining, all that.
fuck.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Hey,
Well,
real
let's
quick
read-
though, before we get too deep, Tom, you said something about Rob Zombie. You know he working on The Monsters.
Oh, yeah, he's working on the Monsters now. But I want to read Ironcaster's super chat here just so people listening know what we're talking about.
Yes,
Hollywood will inevitably get the wrong message from Spider-Man, and I think that you're right. Get ready for Into the Jason verse. Swamp Jason versus Jason 3 versus Jason 8 versus Jason X. I think Robert was about to say something to that effect, basically.
Well, I mean, the thing is, it's not the multiverse as always, it's the characters and the stories. And the fact is, just throwing all these characters together, Jason, they've done it already. Like you said, Fatal J, it's like Jason X or Freddy versus Jason.
Right.
I mean, but even that movie did not live up to how much fun it should have been.
No, it could have been worse, but it could have been better.
But
Yes.
it sounds like they think we're dumb too, you know?
Oh, they do think we're dumb. No.
Freddy versus Jason was ruined off the bat for me.
Like,
because,
just put them
they
all
had
together.
Robert,
They
but
won't
didn't have
care.
Kane.
Well, that was the biggest point of contention for most fans was the fact
Took
that it
me
didn't
right
have
out of
Kane,
it.
yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, it wasn't. I mean, yeah.
I didn't like that constant blue shot film they had going on halfway through the movie either.
No.
Well, it was made in the early 2000s, so it dealt with
Yeah,
a lot
true
of that
that.
kind of shit.
But
Look,
these
That
movies,
was the new thing back then.
I just want to ask a real question because my mind is forgetful. Real quick with the Rob Zombie thing. Is he doing the monsters like the family, or is he doing the monsters like they're killing people?
No, I think he's doing it true to the original.
yeah, the family, yeah,
So he doing it dun na 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 na
Yeah,
na na.
yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
It might be a little tongue in cheek, but I doubt it'll be anything more than that.
So it's gonna be a comedy. It ain't gonna be like some vicious killing.
No, I
Because
highly
I thought
doubt
Rob
he's gonna do
Zombie
that.
was into the slasher stuff too.
You know,
yeah.
Oh, okay.
He
It
is,
depends-
but I don't
depends on
think
what
that
the
he's going to do.
feedback is. They could
I don't
always
think
change it.
Universal would ever let him do that with the monsters.
Oh, gotcha.
Like, I mean, they're not like some super property, but at the same time, I highly doubt that they'd let him turn the monsters into some like slasher kind of thing. I don't know.
there's
I could be
certainly a
wrong. But,
wholesome
It's a
property.
comedy show.
Jesse got a smile on his face like he'll love something like that.
well,
Well, it's just funny because it's like their daughter was always like the survivor girl.
Yeah.
So it was like they
Oh, you
had
mean
the
not
victim
their
as
daughter,
part
but
of
their
the
niece?
family. So would
Cousin.
she just be gone? Would she
Or the
be
cousin,
dead already?
I don't know. I just don't. I don't see him doing that. So, like, the whole point of the joke is that they're monsters living in the normal world. So,
Yeah, it's most certainly a wholesome property.
yeah. And then Pop Culture Muse, thank you for the $2. He's formerly Super Blubberpuss, so keep that in mind, kids. And hello to you. And then House of Trades sent one earlier too. Sorry it took so long to get here. Says, Hail Mead, panel, wrenches, and chat. Would a 25% Jason get around the legal issues? Yeah, that's kind of what we were talking about. And Script kind of basically said, yeah, you could get away with basically doing a 25% different Jason.
Another
but,
zombie creature in a mask is
yeah,
pretty
well, like I
abstract.
said, yeah.
Yeah, it's like the answer should be yes, but something Larry was saying was that like Miller will still have a problem with it.
It's plausible, like, but it sounds like they've got something figured out from what you
I
were
hope
saying
so.
there,
You
Robert.
know
I don't
what?
know how much more you can tell us, but
Oh, I've said too much already.
your email's going off. Like, what are you doing?
No. I mean, it's just, you never like to, if you never want to spill the beans on somebody that's trying to get something off the ground.
No. But I mean, I'd love to have a little scoop here. I mean, come on, give me credit.
Yeah, I can't.
We are working on a video about this story, so
But that's
You
the
could
only
always
reason
say
that-
you could always say to the guy, "Hey, look, we could get behind this if it doesn't suck, so it doesn't make it not suck."
No, I wouldn't want to jump the gun and announce anyone else's project before they're in a position.
no,
to
that's
announce it
totally fair.
themselves.
Yeah,
But,
that's I agree with that. Like, let's just bide our anticipation until we get the actual catharsis of the announcement and the pitch.
Yeah. But it, I just wonder. I would like to see the slasher genre reinvented for today. Like,
too.
what does it mean now? I mean, we live in an era where kids kill each other in high schools with guns. I mean,
Well, a lot of that was
which is-
going on back then too, but yeah.
well, but I mean, not the Columbine really changed the world 20 years or more than
True.
20 years ago now. And I think that, I think in a way it's sort of real life has overtaken the slasher.
Well, I think Scream kind of really went along with that, right? Like, because you had that kind of rise and that idea that, I'm going to be remembered forever for this thing, and Scream is kind of about that, right? It's kind of like about the quintessential me generation kind of fucking killer, right? Like
The infamy as opposed to the famous. Yeah.
exactly, yes.
I also think that's a lot about like what you're saying. You're talking about soft targets that got hit by lunatics, right? But when you go back to these slashers, they're far more up close and personal and visceral about it. They use random objects and creative ways to do amazing murders with practical effects.
Well, that
Well, it's
used to
irony
be the
of
appeal.
intimacy, right?
It takes it up a notch in the brutality of using a broken bottle to eviscerate someone.
Well,
It's
that's
actually
one point. It's
it's
the
actu-
irony of intimacy, because if you, like you said, if you have the two guys they're smoking drugs, or you have a couple that's having sex, that's an intimate act, and yet they're getting murdered in an intimate way. It's not a massive just swath of general
It was
killing or a bomb
special for
blowing up. It's
them.
something special and unique. Yeah. And I think that's what made it really creepy. Sorry, Culture. Go right ahead.
Oh no, I'm just all I was going to say is it's actually really easy to scare people, especially when you put them in the most uncomfortable situations. It's all psychology. I mean, that's why I love it. That's why I've been a horror fan my entire life. It's I mean, I grew up when these films came out. I mean, it was like the first of all of these things. So I love them so very much. And I think Fatal J hit on something. We need a slasher cinematic universe is what we need. And I believe it's really simple to scare people, and it is very enjoyable to do so. And you're 100% right. The intimacy of these two films.
Well, I think it's more than
about
intimacy,
how-
actually.
well, it's pretty intimate. I mean,
It
the way
is,
that
but
these
it's like it
happen.
goes beyond that. See, when you're being intimate, it's also about being vulnerable.
Yeah.
Like that's what a lot of the situation of what these victims find themselves in, and that's where Freddy really nailed it to the wall, because all his victims, he gets them where they're the most vulnerable, right?
Okay, I'm going to sound creepy, but that's okay. There's a lot of books written about the fact that horror and sex kind of the same thing. There's intimacy, there's vulnerability, all these things you're talking about. It's all psychology. I know it sounds twisted.
And if you do
Oh,
it right,
yeah.
one of you has a
That's
heart
true.
attack.
That's why I love that Leslie Vernon movie so much. He's like, you can't kill them while they're in the closet.
Yeah,
It's-
I know
they're
that-
in the womb. They're in the safety. They have to go through the birth canal and be reborn to take you on. Then you can move on to the next one. Like what?
But it is that same thing. I mean, there are certain moments that you capture your humanity, or part of it is captured when you're watching it on film. Like for example, I mean, I go to like more modern television programs like Dexter, the original Dexter, not the rebooted extension that we're
I
getting
thought
now.
that was doing pretty good, though.
It is. But that first couple 3 seasons of that particular television program, that showed you how intimate that act was for him. It brought the audience in, and he became a sympathetic figure to the audience. Because you understood he's killing these people for some pretty decent reasons. I mean, it's not the right thing to do, but he drew the audience in. Same thing. Breaking Bad, it's not horror, but Breaking Bad did the same thing. You made a bad guy, somebody the audience wanted to win. you know, and that's, you know, that's when
Well,
you
it
get
kind of goes
inside.
along with the same with Hannibal, right?
Exactly. So it's the same. It's that same thing. And so I always feel like if when you flesh out these characters, and that's why again they're fighting over them. They're something that reaches an audience, and that's the kind of character you want to write. That's the kind of story you want to write. Like I said, I know it's twisted to think of it this way, but this is the way you should be looking at these horror films. It's very, I mean, script is right. It's very intimate. It's psychologically driven. It's need and it's need, acquisition, and release.
There's desire in there too.
Yeah.
Well,
Exactly.
I don't want to change gears too much, but while we got Robert here, and I know I want to get Jay invested in this too, because poor Jay is just like, yeah, I'm not into the scary movie thing.
No, I'm loving it, man. I love it. I was always the VHS horror type of guy.
Right. Well, I do want to talk some Boba Fett though, because I know you brought that up earlier.
Yes,
and,
sir.
I'm assuming you've seen the first episode of Boba Fett, right?
Yes,
Robert?
and I hated it thoroughly.
Yep.
Oh
I've seen it.
crap!
I've seen it.
All right, well, we'll talk about that in just a minute.
Okay,
Let me grab this super chat and then we'll get right into Boba Fett. Professor Gray sends in $5. Modern horror. The killer shows up. The local police are kitted out like the military and does more damage, tracking him than the killer. Yeah, that's a lot of that stuff too. Or it's just they just don't get it anymore. Well, yeah, it is what it is now. I wanted to talk some more about this, but I really want to talk about some other stuff while we've got Robert here. So what is your first impression so far, Robert, of Boba Fett?
Well, I mean, I'm going by the title, The Book of Boba Fett. I saw this as the prologue of the book that's going to have 6 chapters. So what I saw, and to be honest, I mean, I've heard a lot of I didn't think it would be this polarizing. The one thing I will say about it is I was very disappointed in Robert Rodriguez's, I thought, lackluster directing of the show. I thought for a show that had a bunch of stuff in it, I thought the pacing and the staging of the action was pretty pedestrian. And I chalked some of that up to the way they're shooting the show. Because with the stagecraft technology, you know, I think back to how Rodriguez directed El Mariachi and the fact that he got in there holding a camera and could get all those pieces of coverage. Yeah. I felt that this show was very, it wasn't the most well-staged thing I've seen. I will say this, I did enjoy, they had to tell us that you needed to see Boba Fett escape from the Sarlacc pit. You needed to see that. And I did like, my favorite thing in the whole episode was when the leader of the Sand People doesn't even look at Boba Fett and just hands him the gourd that has the water in it. Like he understood after killing the Ray Harryhausen creature. That was my favorite thing in the episode.
Mine too.
I thought it was great.
No.
But the rest of it was like, I don't understand. I was talking today. I read an article on my show. Boba Fett is a bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they're going to turn him into some kind of an anti-hero, or like he's a bad dude. Mm-hmm. And he
froze a guy for space Nazis.
Yeah, who might have survived and might not. You know, he now this idea, look, he flies around in a ship called the Slave One. Mm-hmm. And in the Star Wars universe, Jabba the Hutt enslaved people. It was not above him. If he didn't like somebody, he would dump you into the Rancor pit and let you get torn apart for the delight of his menagerie of hangers on. I mean, this is not a great place to be. This is not a place that you're going to have kids be like, oh, it's a fun place and we want to live in this area. No, man, the Star Wars world is brutal. It is weird. It is dangerous. And Boba Fett is not a good guy.
Exactly. He just got done working with Vader.
Yeah. And this is the biggest problem, Robert, and I think you'll agree. They're trying this rehab maneuver in pieces by showing you that he went through something that made him dramatically different, that changed him. That's we're seeing it in you know, essentially it's being told in two timelines. You're getting the flashbacks with the Sand People, the Tuscans, right? And then you're getting you're getting the him now, right? Told through the dreams and the Bacta tank, where apparently he is stupid. This guy's a tactical master. He's a bounty hunter. He understands. He's got situational awareness, and yet in a street fight in the middle of this area, he doesn't have the capacity to understand that he has to get to higher ground. So using his jetpack to get away from the people that have encapsulated him. I mean, there are so many problems with this. I haven't done my review yet because I still keep thinking and finding new things that are completely broken with how the story was told. And you're not wrong. I mean, there are limitations because of the way the stagecraft stuff is shot and everything else. And, people don't understand that, shooting in that digital way where everything's kind of around you, but not really. And they're trying to keep social distancing and all this other crap. But at the same time, it doesn't look, it looks really like, I don't think it's overexposed. That's not the right term, but it's like it's too bright. When you went into the canteen and when you went into Mos Eisley, it was too clean, right? There's not scum and villainy there. It's not a
there's not enough atmosphere. There's not smoke in the
There's no scum.
It just looked like a sand city. And here's the other part too, which really gave me some bad red flags, is that I got a lot of Greg Berlanti first season Arrow flashbacks. They're telling two stories at the same time.
Yes.
And the one is to deconstruct Boba Fett and then show him in his current thing where he's like, I'm going to be this type of, honorable, respectful crime lord. But it just didn't hold true to me, because it's like, why are you trying to make us sympathetic? And also, do we really need to see in the first episode how he escaped from the pit of Carcoon, the Sarlacc, or can we just not can that not just be the climax of this series, and we just focus more on him trying to hold on to this empire that he's taken over for a reason? Again, I don't understand why he's taking over the empire. He's a mercenary. He's a self-bound.
What kind of script? What kind of crime lord is honorable?
A dangerous one, but at the same time, it's like they have to pretty much cement their foot down first before they can actually show that honor. And the honor is under their own code too. That's the other part.
Yeah.
Where did this honorable stuff come from, though? He was a scummy dude.
Amongst thieves.
When we watched Return of the Jedi, he was a scummy dude. This is all I want to say. Script, you definitely right. It was two stories in one. That's where they messed up. Him escaping the Scarlet Pit, that should have been a big grand scale story that they told. You could have did Luke Skywalker. We can see his back in the background. You can see them fighting on Jabba's ship and it's leaving away. You see Boba Fett inside the Scarlet Pit. The Scarlet Pit, to me, and maybe I'm thinking too deep into it, it should have been very metaphorical. This is the rebirth of Boba Fett. This is the first time we've seen this character since the Return of the Jedi. Yes, I know we saw him in Mandalorian, but this is almost like a rebirth for a new show, for a new character, and for the fans to finally see the badass bounty hunter that they've been wanting to see for years with his own series, and they dropped the ball.
Yeah.
I also don't like them making the Sand People seem like they're honorable either.
Yeah,
like,
that bothered me.
But that happened in Mandalorian. So here's the problem. So they're trying to reform all of this brutality, right?
They're tempering the conflict.
But
let's not forget what they did to Anakin's mom, mind you. But anyway,
it's on D. It's on D minus, right? So this is what you're gonna do. You're stuck in this. Robert Rodriguez, incredible filmmaker. I love almost everything he's ever done, right? And he's very talented in many different ways, including composing and playing the music for the Cantina scene, right? He put together the flamenco take on the Cantina song, right?
Del Castillo,
yeah, and that was great. I liked it. I know some people didn't, but that's fine. But at the same time, he's in a box. He's in a box because he can't do certain things because he's limited by intersectional garbage, whatever you want to call it. And then he's also in another box because he's in the Disney box. So this has to be a family-friendly show, right? It's a completely bloodless. There's a lack of, people will say, stakes. There's no brutality in this world, and this is a world full of brutality.
We saw Dinjan or Dinjan or whatever the hell his name is for Mandalorian. Dijon Mustard. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, that guy.
No, but I really want to ask Robert and script this up front, because this is the pilot episode. This is the first episode. This is the one that's supposed to hook you. And they really didn't do anything to hook me with this. Like, yeah, I'll keep watching it because Andre says so, but like,
now is it the same guy who played him in the prequels?
Yeah.
It's still that guy. But like, here's my question for script and Robert. Like, so I know you guys have worked on pilots and stuff before. Isn't that normally something you want to do to hook your audience in? Are they taking us a little bit too much for granted with this shit? I mean, what's the deal here with this? As a first episode, I think this fails on many, many levels.
Well, I mean, look, to me, it because you're not introducing a new character, you know, you're
but in a way kind of are, you know, and this is what my problem was, is I don't know shit about Boba Fett.
Yeah, he had 5 lines.
Saying he's a badass, but yeah, he had 5 lines and he got killed. And if I haven't done my homework and read the EU, and maybe I've seen the Christmas special, I have nothing to go on with this, why this guy's a badass. And now all you're showing me is he's nothing but a pussy.
Well, you're kind of locked into the continuity that they've already established. Like, we're not learning about Boba Fett. Like, look, I would love to have seen the book of Boba Fett would have started when he was a young man.
Yeah, I want to see how he worked with Jabba.
Like what happened when he was a teenager, you know, his anger over his.
One of the few times I say, give me a prequel.
Exactly. They should have him carrying his father's head out of the stadium and then start the story there.
Yeah, that's where I would have gone with this. And, you know, this idea that they had to start it in continuity with The Mandalorian or whatever, I think is a mistake. I mean, I was kind of hoping that you would start, you know, kind of like the way you see Godfather 2 begins, where you see Vito Corleone watching his mother getting assassinated.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's definitely something that should have happened. But that's not what we got.
He got his butt kicked throughout the entire episode, man.
That's what bothered me too, Robert, because it started out a little bit. You got a little bit of that Godfather flavor. And then the moment it started going off the rails was when you had the character come in who worked for the mayor, and he's just like, yeah, let him go. It's like, what? No, the next scene after that should have been the mayor and his buddies, you know, making fun of Boba Fett, and then that dude's head rolling in the fucking room. And Boba Fett showing up and going, oh, so you're going to disrespect me? You know, kind of thing. That's what I want to see. I want to see who this guy is supposed to be, like that they built him up to be. No, instead he's this benevolent leader who wants to lead with respect. It's
well, like, yeah, why does he want to take over the underworld anyway?
Yeah, that I don't understand.
Like, we don't, you know, in the whole thing about Godfather 2 is that story is juxtaposing the story of Michael Corleone with his father's rise to power. And you see him as a young man and taking over. I would have thought that would have been kind of the way to go. I mean, it's called The Book of Boba Fett. Now, who's to say that that's not where they're going to go from now on? Maybe we will get those flashbacks in the show.
Yeah.
I mean, I think right now they had to sort of set the table. But yeah, I mean, I don't like the fact that he got, first of all, why would he, who just basically went to war with the mayor of Mos Espa, why is he just wandering down a city street?
Yeah.
You know, with his Gamorrean guards and some chick, you know, with Fennec Shand. And she's like, well, you know, Jabba the Hutt would have been brought here with his whole entourage and everything. And he's just walking down, you know. It's like, I don't know if that's the best way to be, buddy.
No, because it reminds me of like the cliche of, like, you know, the Godfather walking through the street neighborhood, but he's got like only a handful of guards. But what you don't realize is that there's armored cars, like, you know, a block or half a block away that's ready to like pounce on a moment's notice.
So are you saying that she's Fredo?
Maybe. The other part too, I mean, one of the things that I usually tell up and coming writers, and I get this also from more experienced writers, is that try to avoid flashbacks. Stories are to be told in the present. And unless the flashback itself has to directly inform what's going on
Right.
in what you're showing within that time frame, don't do it. So I would have much rather preferred the Book of Boba Fett, if we wanted to start it with the Sarlacc pit, to start it literally with, we see him falling in, we see him wake up, and then a nice, decent struggle showing how difficult it is to get out of this thing, because that's what makes the Sarlacc far more dangerous, is when you actually see people have been trying to escape, but they can't. And then you have the one story of the one guy who did. And I don't mind if he's like exhausted afterwards and he gets his armor stripped by Jawas and knocked out there. That's fine, because after going through such a heavy feat to get out, it's perfectly reasonable to be knocked out and then dehydrated and exhausted and weak.
Ask a dumbass question. You got a jetpack. Why don't you just fly out? It's a worm.
Yeah, I mean, we could have seen that option too.
That fucking jetpack is the bane of this series' existence.
It already, because there were two incidents. You said them both: the Sarlacc pit and the confrontation on the street, both solved with the jetpack. And guess what didn't get used? The jetpack.
Yeah, I would have figured he would at least have some kind of utility belt of toxins that it couldn't digest, and therefore it would just spit him out.
And 6 makes a valid point.
He knows where he's going. He knows what planet
I want to address this, because 6 does.
He's going to have something to make it puke.
6 does make a valid point here. Like, okay, it's not so much that if he's like at a point in his life where he wants to redeem himself, I'd understand that. But you have to go through the trouble of showing us him being such a bad guy to begin with for it to even matter. Like, that's my problem. Like with Vader, it matters because he's the baddest of the baddest guys in the fucking galaxy.
Yeah,
and when he
we
saves,
see a crack in his armor, and at the end of Empire Strikes Back.
Now, if I was setting this show up like that, I wouldn't have a problem. Sorry, go ahead, Jay.
No, I just think they missed the opportunity, because the first episode is usually the episode where they try to be relatable to the audience. I think the entire episode should have been him trying to crawl out that Sarlacc pit. And we see the struggle and seeing his armor getting ripped off and all that type of stuff. And when he finally make it, we with Boba Fett. Instead of watching this entire episode of him getting his bucket, because everybody has it made up in their mind that Boba Fett is a badass character. Look what the Mandalorian did with season 1, episode 1. That character was a badass character, arresting people, shooting people, killing people.
Why chopped them in half?
There were 6 or 7 bounty hunters standing around with Vader, and he was like the head one.
Yeah.
So you wanted a Shawshank Redemption kind of a crawl out of the tunnel thing.
I'm telling you,
Fett crawled through 12 miles of
Sarlacc intestine.
Sarlacc shit.
You remember Trapped?
Trapped.
Yeah, where he's stuck in the rocks.
Yeah.
And like 28 hours, something like that. 120 hours.
Yeah.
Luca said in the chat, right? Luca Rock said in the chat that it's just the first episode, right? And it is, except at the same time, Fatal just addressed it by saying this is where you hook your audience.
Well, that's what I was saying from the start. That's the question I was asking Script and Robert. Yeah,
I guess start with your best foot forward. I mean, the thing is, this is the double-edged sort of streaming services, which is that they commission a set number of episodes that you're pretty much guaranteed to make and then do. And you don't have that threat of cancellation mid-season because you've already got the money essentially. So you don't really have to put your best foot forward. You just have to build up to some sort of crescendo, and hopefully it sells by the release. Where on network television, you have your first 13 and then you have your back 9. And if you don't knock it out of the park at first 13, you don't get your back 9.
Exactly.
And you don't have that issue with streaming right now.
Right. And this is the other thing. And I want to make this clear. I now have a rule that I give something 3 episodes every time. If I'm going to start something and commit to it, I'm going to watch 3 episodes, because if I hadn't, I would have missed out on Breaking Bad, because I did not think I was getting into the show until that 3rd episode.
Same here, man.
And so it's why I do it the way I do it. So I want to see what happens in the next 2, because I believe, again, because Robert Rodriguez is awesome, that he's going to find a way to hook me. He's going to.
But he was supposed to do it in the first episode.
But this is the thing, man. This is the trend that I noticed with these Disney Plus shows. Now, this is just a trend. This could be the exception. If that first episode don't hit with a Disney Plus show, I promise you, you might have one good episode in the whole season. Look at Hawkeye. Did you guys like Hawkeye?
I did until the last episode, actually.
I didn't like none of the episodes except episode 3.
But going back to what something script says, yeah, I agree. Don't do flashbacks unless it's something that is pertinent to the story. But in this case, in one of these, this is the one time, not to beat this drum again, but I feel like it could have benefited from us starting from, like Robert said, let's see who Boba Fett is. Show us what he's done to this point, even if it's in a quick fashion. I'd love to see where he went from after his father's death to how he started working with Jabba. That'll help us learn the hierarchy in the town, so that when he does take over, then we kind of understand what he's kind of facing here. And then, my other thing is I'm willing to put money on that the mayor is what's her face, Amelia Clark from Solo, who thinks I'm right.
I didn't think like that. And what was the gang name in Solo? What was that gang?
The Red something or other.
Yeah, they'll be in it.
Well, they had that J letter sign.
That's why I think they're connected. I think they're connected script.
Maybe.
And that did y'all hear the? Okay, I can see it. Did y'all hear the rumor that Han Solo is going to be in this?
Yes, and that's one of the reasons why I thought this, and I've been bringing it up, and some other people have been thinking the same thing I am.
Well, wait a minute. But the Han Solo would have to be the Harrison Ford Han Solo.
It will be.
It would.
It's going to be.
Hear about this, Robert?
Won't be, but it would.
Okay, well, basically, spoilers, kids. One of the possible cameos is going to be a young Harrison Ford, because supposedly he was on the set and they already have him de-aged for Indiana Jones. So it's very likely that they could have done it very quickly and cost effectively. And the rumor is he's going to be in it. There's another cameo that's already been confirmed, but we already know who that is, but I don't want to say it if Robert doesn't know. So,
yeah,
I don't know.
I don't want to spoil it for anybody. So
that's all I know is it's a trap.
It's a trap. No, it's not him. Dash Attack says Aunt and Uncle got COVID, so plans to see Spider-Man and my cousin got canned. Oh man, that sucks. Saw Boba, don't know where it's going. Glad it's not my account.
Ooh, that's not a good review.
No. Well, that was my other problem with this.
Yeah. Where's the direction of the show? What's his goal? I don't get it. I'm completely divorced
that's
from
what I'm saying. Yeah.
what's going on with this character.
So how about this? Because we now know there's already a confrontation between Boba and the mayor. How about Amelia Clark is the mayor?
That's what I just fucking said.
Oh.
You weren't listening, my friend.
No, I have other things going on in the background.
All right,
well, you should be paying attention to the stream, sir.
All right, I apologize. I still think you're not wrong, and if that's the case, if that's what you actually said. But it doesn't. Is that going to be nice to see her again? Sure.
No.
Nobody cares, man. Don't nobody care about that Solo movie.
I think she's pretty hot. But all right,
she is hot, but like it's not like she's going to be naked. So what's the point?
Yeah, because she won for a Game of Thrones.
Oh, that's right. It's a Disney
Game of Thrones.
It's a D- show. I forgot. And look, I'm disappointed. I was disappointed for a lot of reasons. I can't. And thanks to Robert's script, I now have more reasons to be disappointed in this. And I feel like we haven't let Robert talk enough about this yet. So I
I've said I mean, to me, it's like I wasn't necessarily. I was disappointed in the filmmaking. And I'm disappointed in the idea that the Disney Star Wars universe, they want to make it antiseptic and safe. And it's so funny to say that because I already thought that the Star Wars universe was pretty safe, but they never shied away from the fact that, I mean, Anakin slaughtered sand people to get his mother back. Didn't work. He was already dead.
Dude, she was in like a community rape tent.
I mean, it was the stuff that goes on. And I really think we live in a weird time where the infantilization of our children is bizarre, considering, you read an article about Billie Eilish, who's talking about, one of the most influential pop artists of her day for the youth of America. And she's talking about watching hardcore pornography at 11. We live in a world where that's people's truths, that people are doing that. And yet they want to change the name of Boba Fett's spaceship because it's offensive. Or it might trigger people because it's the slave one. Not like human beings haven't been enslaving one another since we got down from the trees.
And Boba Fett is #1 at enslaving people.
I mean, that's it. And it's such a weird time that we live in. And I understand it's Disney and all that, but oh, we have to make Boba Fett a noble guy. No, he's a bad guy. He's a bad human a bad humanoid. There's no Boba Fett does not have. He sells people for money, whether he sells Han Solo to Vader or whatever. I mean, he's a bounty hunter to Jabba the Hutt. He will buy people, take them to Jabba, get his money, and they can be killed. He doesn't have a conscience.
He's not like a bounty hunter in real life where there's a crime committed and then there's a bounty put on.
Well, but there could be.
Trying to turn him into dog the bounty hunter. So he's going to have to be like, listen to me, brother. You got to turn your way from crime.
You owe the gangster money.
Right. It's a crime against the gangster. So you're looking at it incorrectly there, Jesse. I mean, they committed they came afoul of whatever authority there was. It doesn't necessarily have to be a legal authority; it just has to be an authority of some sort. I think Robert's right. I think Boba Fett is an example, at least as the archetype of someone who's irredeemable. And so, trying to present him in this way is easily. It's something we easily object to.
And that's the thing is, if you're not going to give us any backstory, then you have to make him more of the man with no name than you even did Dijon Mustard.
Dijon Mustard. Yeah, but what's so wrong on doing a character study on a bad guy?
Nothing.
It could be very, very interesting.
Look, I mean, I'm sorry, but the Godfather films were that. It was a bad guy.
I love them,
and they were incredible. And you can do that. I mean, you can do it well. We were just like gushing over freaking slasher movies just a few minutes ago, and now we're talking about something that essentially is the embodiment of
that kind of takes us to Ben Wade's super chat here. Could it be that Lucasfilm has abused us so badly that they have killed off our goodwill? Because really, like I was going to ask you guys, if we had gotten this show 10 years ago, do you think we would have reacted differently to it? If we had gotten this show before The Mandalorian, I know I would have reacted differently to it, because that was my problem with this, is you could just put Dijon in this fucking show and it would have been no different than any other Mandalorian episode.
And that's how I feel about the show. That's the other thing. And that was going to be the thing I summed up my
I don't know if you guys feel this way, but go ahead.
I'm really simple on this. After the last 3 cinematic films, right? Anybody who still watches Star Wars, it's your fault. It's your fault that you're watching it.
I watch it more out of obligation now, unfortunately.
And I have the same thing. Because believe it or not, I had less than 0 interest in this.
What do you think? I don't put my hand on the stovetop.
Like, let's start with Jay. Do you think that the interest has killed, like the larger fan base is just like their interest has been killed in this, or
no? People are going to watch this until the end. I'm one of them. Even though this episode disappointed me a lot, I'm still curious to see if Robert Rodriguez can pick it up. I'm a big Robert Rodriguez fan. He's one of my top directors. My favorite movies is mostly Robert Rodriguez movies. So I just think the execution was horrible, but maybe they can do better. I mean, how much better can you do after 6 episodes, though? You have a lot of work to do. So I don't know. I don't think it's killed for everybody, because people complain and hate it and still watch it. That's what we always do.
Good point. Script.
I mean, if this came out 10 years ago, I'd still have issues with it, because the one thing that I'm curious about, and wondering if Robert, if you've heard anything on that, is what is the overall turnaround time from concept to release with these Disney Plus shows? Because it feels like it's really, really narrow, and you feel that it's narrow because of the quality of, or lack thereof, that's being shown to us.
Yeah, I mean, I knew that they were. I mean, they've taken over basically the shooting all these shows at Manhattan Beach Studios, which is a big, very new studio, relatively speaking, new studio facility out in Manhattan Beach, and Disney's taken over basically the entire complex.
Yeah,
they're doing reshoots for all of their Doctor Strange and Spider-Man were doing reshoots there. They're shooting all the Star Wars shows there. They're making these things for a long time, so they should have, I mean, a pretty great production pipeline set up. I just think that, the way that they're doing these to keep the budgets down is, they're not going on location to the Tunisian desert to shoot Tatooine.
Or to the salt flats, yeah.
Yeah, so they're not doing that. And I think in that case, I mean, that was the thing that to me really stuck out, is I felt that it felt that's why people walk everywhere. They're always walking down these environments instead of flying in and landing their ships. I mean, where is the Slave One? is it parked at Jabba's palace?
It's expensive.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, why? Let's see it. We've seen the ship fly around. I mean, did they take speeders into Mos Espa? How far away is Jabba's palace from downtown Mos Espa? I mean, it was, I do feel that
Probably
the
about
shows they're trying to
8-hour
do these
walk,
things
right?
on the it's not a short walk, and it I again, I don't know what the production turnaround time is like on regular TV shows. You've got some shows that are on Showtime, like Dexter. They're fighting the production of that show. The new version is they're like only a show ahead. They've
been ticking at it for a long time now, and you're right, they're not that far ahead of release date, so that's rough.
A friend of mine's working on, and they do the post-production of a lot of these shows. I don't understand. Like on a show like Dexter, they'll send in multiple cuts to QC, and they won't have certain effect shots, and every time they send an episode in with an extra shot, like, oh, QC this, they get charged again. And QC is quality control, and what happens is in post-production, you need to make sure that all the framing is correct, all the color is correct, there aren't dead pixels, all the kinds of things that go through. It's a lot of work, and there's people that have to do it. They're trying to get AI to do it, but you really still need people. And I sometimes wonder about the post-production on a lot of these shows, how effective it all really is. But like with this, I would have cut out, like, every edit on this show felt sluggish to me. And even those fight scenes, I'm like, they should cut away like 2 or 3 frames earlier, to make the hits, the punches land to feel a little harder, the kicks to feel a little harder.
Yeah, cut a frame, drop a frame here and there.
Yeah, and I just felt like it could have been because when you're watching Fennec Shand and Boba Fett get their asses kicked by these people with these shields,
the red pajama guys,
and I'm just like, first of all, who are these guys?
Wait,
and why are our
described
characters
as red pajama guys?
I mean, our characters should have seen that coming. And when they're ambushed in the middle of the street because they're walking down the street, I mean, why weren't people taking pot shots at them from the roof? Like, where's the snipers? Where's the Mos Espa snipers that can take people out? I mean, when you have people just wandering down the middle of the street, a guy who's already declared his animosity to the mayor of Mos Espa, you'd think like this dude wouldn't just like stroll down the middle of the street. Even if he has Gamorrean guards, where are people from a distance? Like even in Attack of the Clones, we had that bounty hunter that we met that was working for Jango Fett, taking shots from afar.
Yep. The Changeling, yeah.
The Changeling. And it's I forget that character's name, but I mean, that's the kind of thing when you watch this stuff. I felt that way, by the way, about The Mandalorian in its entirety. I feel like a lot of the stuff, in the beginning, why is it that the Mandalorians have their secret base down the street from the Imperial officers? I mean, you've got them making their Beskar armor like in a fast food joint that's around the corner from where everybody. It just seems so odd to me. Like, wouldn't they have a secret base someplace that's not in this backwoods town that's full of Imperial officers and
someplace underground, secret,
or some sort of strategy as to why they're following the Imperial officers and that why they're
Zam Wesell.
You have to have something more. I mean, that's the thing, that my issue with the Disney Plus shows, especially with the Star Wars side, is that they're very thin, they feel rushed, and it doesn't feel like they're focusing on what actually needs to resonate with audiences for that rewatchability.
Right. I also hated the score.
For Boba Fett, yeah.
I really like the score from Mandalorian. I hated the score for this.
Now, what do you guys feel memorable about it overall with the shows? Do you feel like they're piecing them together as they go, or do you think they actually had a plan beforehand, or they're just altering a plan, or do you think it's just as you go?
I don't think they're doing second or third drafts on the script. I think that's one part.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? It's funny. I just finished watching Succession, all 3. It was a show I hadn't watched. I watched all 3 seasons of Succession, and I'm like, why isn't the Book of Boba Fett like Succession?
Yeah.
Why isn't it that smart of a show? Like, why? I mean, it's all allegorical. Like, why wouldn't you go, okay, let's base even Lucas was basing a lot of his work on Akira Kurosawa's work. I don't understand. Like, okay, there's all these Western motifs, but which Western motif?
But you have an answer for that, Robert. It's simple. It's on Disney Plus. It's a kids television network. That's the problem.
Yeah.
They are this is the problem Disney's been struggling with for a long time, because they didn't divide up their content with parental gates, right? Instead, they are counting on adults to go over to Hulu, but they need adults for Disney Plus to succeed, especially these shows that are going to bring in not just the adults, but the kids on the back end. And this is why the destruction of the characters in service of the new wasn't a good plan from the very beginning when it comes to Star Wars and any of these other things. But that's neither here nor there. That's the problem. You are making a rated G Star Wars show, which is not Star Wars. That's not how that works.
Yeah, and you're hitting the nail on the head, dude, because when he was saying they're walking down the middle of the street instead of hiding out and working on down the road, I mean, that just sounds like it's something a little kid would come up with. It's written for children by children. There you go. They want their visual cues, and that's it.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because Jon Favreau, who wrote Swingers, and you've got Rodriguez, who made El Mariachi and Desperado.
And Once Upon a Time in Mexico and
Sin City, a little better angel.
Lava Girl.
And I'm like, why don't they let these creators make a kick-ass Boba Fett show? And again, and why, you watch Empire Strikes Back, that was for everybody. That was a pretty sophisticated movie. And there's a lot going on there, and kids love it, but it's presented in a very adult way, but it's accessible to everybody. And I
think that's the reason why Star Wars was so successful, Robert.
I agree. And that's why, look, still to this day, the most disappointing movie-going experience I've ever had in my entire life was Return of the Jedi. And people are like, wait, what?
I can understand
I know
why.
exactly why, too.
I definitely understand that.
I mean, when you watch I saw Empire Strikes Back 26 times in the theater. I loved Empire Strikes Back. I love Star Wars, but those films were really sophisticated. And when you see Jedi, Lucas sort of took back the franchise, and I get that, but his collaborators were not making a children's movie.
Yeah,
they were making a film that appealed to everyone. That's why Marshall Lucas and
Gary
Kurtz. I mean, all the people that were working on this film knew what it was that they were doing. George Lucas is so removed now from humanity, and he was back then. He was a big nerd. He wanted to make experimental movies. You go back and you watch THX 1138, and you're like, I can't believe George Lucas made this movie.
Yeah.
I can.
I mean, it feels so adult, and it's so interesting, and obviously based on a lot of the political things that were happening at the time in 1984 and Brave New World and all that. But Jedi Jabba's palace is a perfect example of everything that's wrong with Jedi. I love the final confrontation, but even the Emperor, people
it's a
forget
live action cartoon,
yeah. If you look at you can't see it now because it's been removed, but the way the Emperor was portrayed in the original version of Empire before 1997, before they changed it and put the Clive Revel version of the Emperor, when Vader talks to the Emperor is very quiet. Yeah. And Vader's like, if he could be turned, he would be a valuable asset. The Emperor's like, yes. Like he's thinking and he's quiet. It's not like the Snow White witch version of the Emperor.
Yeah, that's true. It's so very true. I mean, and again, if you have access to these specialized editions, of course, watch them. But you and I grew up with this, Robert. You and I are older dudes, so it's like we went to the theater, we saw the original 3 films, and this is where I always have a huge disconnect. Every time that Lucas went back and changed something, I was like, that was a huge mistake.
Especially in Star Wars. I mean, when you go to Mos Eisley Spaceport, it was a shithole.
It was
a Texas truck stop in the middle of nowhere. It was awful.
We have another guest joining us.
We were happy.
Just interrupt. Sorry. Welcome, George.
Hey, George. How you doing? How's everyone doing?
George, I don't know if you've met Robert yet, but yeah.
No, I don't think we've had face to face. No.
I haven't met
your chats.
And Jay, of course.
I haven't met George either. George of the Jungle.
Hi, Fatal. How you doing, sir?
Doing good. Right. Nice background. And Robert, I want to say this: don't ever feel bad because I've always said this: A New Hope is way better than Return of the Jedi. I've always.
Do you know
said
But,
why?
you know, Return of the Jedi and Empire, dude, like Empire Strikes Back, I think it's one of the best sequels of all time because it's that perfect middle movie of a trilogy. So whenever you're in the middle movie of a trilogy, I always want to see more of that universe. And they did an excellent job with that. Then when you get to Return of the Jedi, it's very closed again.
Well,
It's
it's
just
only
out
Luke's
in the
story.
desert.
That's the biggest problem. They abandon Han and Leia's romance. They wrap it up really quickly in Jabba's palace, and
They do.
they have no agency anymore other than to facilitate the mission, which is destroy the shield generator. That whole movie is really just about Luke and Vader fighting the Emperor in their own way, and I think that because of that, it doesn't hold the gravitas that that Empire and A New Hope had, because there's no conflict to explore. Han is now seeing like, oh, the Empire is going to be gone and the rebellion is probably going to take over. What does that mean for me? Because I was a smuggler beforehand. Will Leia actually even care about me when she takes on more responsibilities? And what does Leia feel about this, where her whole life has been this rebellion and now she's going to have to move on to the political side of things? Like, those conflicts are never explored. They could have been in a Return of the Jedi story.
No, and also you can't introduce another Death Star when you've already blown one up.
Right.
Like there's no. I'm not. When you see the Death Star 2, it's like, okay,
he flew a Millennium Falcon through this thing.
Yeah, and it's to me, what I thought was going to happen was something truly epic and Shakespearean, truly where you would have seen Coruscant in that movie, and it would have been
Storm the castle.
It's so much, it's so goofy. Not just the Ewoks, but I understand what George wanted to do with that and go back and, well, we're gonna refight the Vietnam War on the moon of Endor. But even that was small-minded. And
then the cocaine showed up and they had the teddy bears.
Didn't he take part of it from Hidden Fortress?
The first movie.
The first,
I thought he took scenes also in Return. Are y'all comparing? I'm sorry, because I'm coming in late. Are y'all comparing this to Boba Fett, or
yes, sir?
Kind of, yeah.
In a roundabout way, yeah.
Yeah, and Robert, you're right. I mean, if the third film had been the taking of Coruscant from the Emperor, that would have been a more compelling way of telling the story than what we got, I think.
How could they have done that back then, though?
Also, if what Yoda says there is another,
right?
What if? I mean, I always thought that the end of Jedi should have been
Leia.
Leia was seduced by the dark side of the Force, and Luke had to confront the Emperor, and Han had to confront Leia, and on the burning steps of Coruscant, wherever the Emperor was, Han had to kill Leia at the end. I mean, they probably wouldn't have done this, but in order to save her from going full on, there was no sacrifice for the win in Jedi. I mean, sure, Darth Vader died, but Darth Vader was a genocidal maniac.
Yeah,
I mean, and even that at the end, they tried to turn him into, oh, let me look at you with my own eyes. No, man, you're irredeemable. You are a murderer of children, although they didn't know that at the time.
We didn't know that at the time, but I think that's what they were. I think that's why Last Jedi struck such a bad chord.
They did blow up a planet. I think it's safe to say there were some kids.
Right, but
that was a lot of younglings, though.
It was, but I'm saying I think by Vader being so irredeemable, that was giving us a contrast that showed how light Luke was, that he could even see, look, there's a piece of light in there just buried. Maybe he knew all the corruption somehow on an instinctual level, that he had been twisted and turned. And yes, he made the choices, but he was also seduced, as we saw, later in the Phantom Menace, and then in the Attack of the Clones, and then in Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, but I mean, I was talking, at the time in '83 when I saw the film, I said earlier before you were here, that's the most disappointing movie I've ever seen.
Which one?
Of Jedi, Return of the Jedi.
Okay. I can see.
The promise of Star Wars and Empire. And, I was young. I was 10 when I saw Star Wars, 13 when I saw Empire, and I was 16 when I saw Return of the Jedi.
I was the same.
The stories were growing, with me, and the disillusionment of adulthood, and the should have been. I mean, at the end of Jedi, when they're literally, celebrating, and the galaxy is liberated, and it's done in a very second grade level way.
It's hard for me to. I hear what you're saying, and I, as an adult, agree.
I
It's
know what
hard,
he's
and
saying.
I make the delineation only because Star Wars for me is one of the things that got me. Like the first movie that I saw, New Hope, was the last film I saw before I was kidnapped, and the first movie that I saw when I returned was Empire Strikes Back.
Oh,
So
snap.
they were cornerstones for me. So
You said kidnap, bro?
yeah, I was kidnapped when I was 7, and so it was like it's what kind of rekindling that child inside. So I've always had, it's always made me a little bit, it's made me biased, obviously, but as the years have gone by, I've been able to slowly, separate myself from that. And I hear what you're saying about Return of the Jedi, but what would you say is the biggest weakness of it, Robert?
Robert, you froze?
Looks like
But
he
look,
froze. Yeah.
until he unfreezes, I know exactly what Robert is talking about. When you come off the high of New Hope had me crying, man. Empire Strikes Back. This is a freaking survival movie. They surviving and losing. They losing and surviving through the whole movie. They didn't win. Then you get this third one. They ain't even going to different planets. They on just one planet, and it was just it was dry. Don't get me wrong. I love Return of the Jedi, and my boy is straight up frozen. I like
Return of the Jedi.
I love Return of the.
But I hear what he's saying. He has good point.
But when you compare it to the powerfulness, and I don't know if that's a word, but if you compare it to the powerfulness of the two movies that came before it, it is a little bit of disappointing.
It is in that aspect, of course. It is. Empire
does seem rushed because there is a lack of story, but I do love how the whole battle did play out.
I read once that
modern and Han Solo looked badass.
I read once that Lucas said he didn't have the technology to do what he wanted to do.
No, he didn't.
That's the other thing. How are you going to attack Coruscant in 1984?
Well, you could have. There's a lot to it. I mean, and again, I mean, look, I wanted Book of Boba Fett to be close to the Underworld series we were going to get.
Yeah.
I thought that would have been a great way to go. But you guys, please don't attack the original 3 films if you didn't.
I love them. I love them.
I got 2 questions about Star Wars.
I think Book of Boba Fett isn't over with. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Jesse. I'm like, it's only one episode.
One is kind of serious and one's just funny.
Okay.
But if Vader went back to the light side of the Force, okay, let me look at you with my own eyes, all that bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
He became a Force ghost. So therefore, he had to have magically known the power that he didn't understand before when Obi-Wan disappeared, but now he did it himself, but his body just didn't disappear.
Yeah, that's all the issues with the prequel trilogy. So
that
bothers me. But the other thing that bothers me is they have this giant party immediately after the fight, right?
Right.
They're all playing stormtrooper helmets like bongos, and they're all feasting. Where do you think they got all that meat? They're eating stormtroopers.
Yeah, but no, who says they're eating storm? Yeah,
they were gonna eat them before they thought 3PO was a god.
Nub.
Okay. Yeah, good point. I think sometimes certain things. I think some things sometimes should be just kind of like left alone and accepted. You know what I mean? It's like he's making it for kids. Yeah, because he never was going to go there, obviously, to eat them. They're showing that they would have eaten them, but everything. I mean, I think there's very few. Script would know this. Script. How many movies would you say in the last 50 years held up? Meaning, like you could keep looking at them every decade, and you could say they still stand the test. Really
that's
tight.
Hard.
That's hard to, in the last 50 years.
Logan's Run.
I wouldn't.
There's probably 100 of them, but I couldn't name all of them right now.
Well, not name, but you're saying that's about 100 out of the thousands.
On average, minimum average, you'd have like 52 movies a year made. Nowadays, it's like 3 times that.
I can tell you what hold up. What's it called? To Kill a Mockingbird? You ever see that movie?
Kill a Mockingbird's good, yeah. The past, lots of.
What about It's a Wonderful Life?
I bet you there's at least 1,000 good movies in the past 50 years. But we lost Robert. His power went out due to a storm. So I don't know for sure. But we did gain a Valiant Renegade.
All right.
But I'm going to take this moment. Hell Valiant, how you doing?
Hell
I'm good. I'm sorry. You sent me the link like an hour ago, and I just didn't see it. I'm
not going to be able to take it. Now we got Culture Casino Voice, and now we got Valiant Renegade. I'm not going to be able to take it.
Surrounded by sexy voices. You got George.
I know. Well, wait. I opened it, and I said, okay, I forgot. Yeah, MEAD's tonight. Yeah, I've got so much stuff to get ready for tomorrow. And then I looked, and I saw it. I'm like, Fatal J's on tonight. I'm like, I'm going.
Jay wants you guys to ASMR.
I will never miss a chance to share the screen with Fatal J. We love having fun with each other, man. What's up, Fatal?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm doing good.
I'm going to catch up on these super chats here. We got Professor Gray who says, "Am I the only one who wants someone to make the Rogue Squadron books into a series? Get away from the Skywalkers and explore other aspects of the story." I agree. That's why, even though I'm not having the most fun with Boba Fett yet,
I like it.
Or Mandalorian was whatever, but like I felt like that's where they started was Mandalorian. Get away from the standard stuff.
Skywalker shouldn't be the center of the Star Wars universe, just the center of their own story.
Well, let me ask you a question. Why is that? We're so invested in their story and we haven't even really we haven't broadened it out.
It's because Luke was a nobody and he turned out to be a somebody.
I know, but I think why a lot of people feel that way. Okay, I'll speak for myself. I can tell you why I feel that I want more Luke and more heirs like that. It's because Last Jedi destroyed him. I want to see Luke Skywalker between Return of the Jedi up to, for the next 30 years. I want to see that Luke, that Legends covered.
So the last movies make me want to see none of this shit.
But this is the
kicker, George. Oh, go ahead, Jay. Go ahead.
But this, not real fast. This is the kicker, though. Do you want to see Luke Skywalker without Mark Hamill, though?
I really don't, unless someone could. You could,
because Mark Hamill is no spring chicken anymore,
right? But they could de-age him today, can't they?
But you could also go find another skinny blonde guy.
Well, that's why they talked about Sebastian Stan for a while, which I thought was a good idea.
That would have worked, and you could have
remember that creepy internet picture where it looks exactly like him.
But you can actually mask the actors that are similar in looks with the previous actor's face. It's not that hard.
Actually goes back,
but it's expensive when you start talking about doing that.
This actually goes back to our old one of our older super chats we had earlier, where it said, asked, "Is Star Wars, has the fandom died down?" Well, here's the thing: they had the perfect opportunity to build this properly. Yeah. Like you're right. You can go far beyond the Skywalkers, but the Skywalkers should have been your centerpiece, and that's where they fucked up with the sequel trilogy, right? Like that was the big,
and that's what they're now going to have to spend years fixing.
And the Skywalkers should have been your marquee stories you told on the big screen, and the other stuff should have been your stuff on television and whatnot.
Right, just like the way you have the Avengers. And then you have side characters. You always go back to the Avengers. That's what I'm saying. The Skywalker should have been the same way.
You're right, but then they killed off the quote unquote Avengers.
I know. I think that's silly.
But like the I can't sell comics sidekicks.
You're right.
You're going to be focusing on, and this is the problem, right? Look, Boba Fett. This could have been a monstrous show. This thing could have run for 5 or 6 years if they would have just leaned into the fact that this is a bad dude.
Yeah, but I don't think it's over yet. So.
Dude, I don't think it's even begun yet. And that's the problem. We are in a position where, like I said, I'm going to give it 3 episodes.
That's what I said, the same thing. Yeah, I agree.
And then I'm going to turn around and I'm going to look at Paulie and I'm going to say, dude, we got to talk about this because I love Robert Rodriguez. I had faith and have faith in Robert Rodriguez. Love almost everything he's ever done. Right? And if I were going to be a filmmaker, which everybody wants to be a filmmaker, but if I were going to be that filmmaker, I want to be that dude because you are outside of the establishment because he is. I mean, he's got 1 foot in the establishment and 1 foot out. That's the perfect position to be in. But the problem is he tied himself to this property in a way that puts him, and I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say this every time this comes up. He is in a box. And not only that, he is inside of the box, and then there's packing material, and inside that is another box that he's inside of.
Disney
restrictions.
Yeah, that's the part that I don't understand. No, go on, Culture. I'll ask my question.
No, he lives in 2 boxes worth of restrictions. He's not able to tell the Star Wars story because he's limited by the politics of today, not the universe that Star Wars exists in. No, but the politics of the day. And then he's further restricted by the rated G nature of every Disney Plus show, which I'm now calling Disney minus, and that is.
Why didn't we think of that?
No, well, I think a lot of people have, and it can't be the first time you heard it. But seriously,
actually, twice tonight was the first time I heard it from you.
Oh, really? I'm sorry. Yeah, no, it's this.
Don't be sorry.
Yeah, this is shit. It's Disney minus. You that's the problem. This is the box that all of these shows are living in because Disney didn't. And I said this to Robert a few minutes ago. because Disney did not flesh out a way to divide their adult content from their kiddie content
But they
on
could
their
do
own
it.
damn platform. They are relying on Hulu to be the place where they can stuff shove.
And you don't even need and you don't even need a parental lock. All you need to do is put trivia on there, history trivia, and if you get the correct answer instead of the revised answer, you can get through and watch shit.
Oh, I would love that.
Well, but I don't understand when you keep saying that Rodriguez is not a studio person.
He's usually not.
Well,
he's usually an
independent.
indie
Alita Battle Angel, Sin City, all of those.
Sin City he made on his own.
Yeah.
Yes, Sin City was actually under Dimension. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and his struggle with Alita and with Cameron and everything that happened with that was a lot of his wanting his
Every
own creative.
time Robert comes close to doing something that's like a big studio thing, he usually gets fucked over.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
Predator 3 or whatever, Predators or whatever
That
you
was
want to call it.
horrible.
That was like one of the few that he ever got as close to doing a studio picture, I would say.
Are you talking about Predators, the one with Adrian Brody, or
The Adrian Brody one?
Oh,
Yes.
that was I liked. I thought you were talking about
Oh, yeah,
that.
that
He
was
didn't even direct that. He didn't even direct that. He just produced it.
Oh,
So, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know, a script. Has he ever directed a studio picture?
Alita Battle Angel.
No,
he
that's just
direct that?
distributed by
Oh.
Fox.
That was
So
Lightstorm.
he
That
didn't.
was
But he didn't
I don't
direct
remember
it.
if he directed it either. I don't know.
I thought he directed it. Did he not?
He may have. I don't remember.
what about Sin City? I thought Sin City was big.
It was
big,
big-ish.
but it was an independent film.
Yeah, but it was very independent. It was. Yeah.
Oh well, kudos.
I don't
to him
know.
for
Okay,
showing the
then
filmmaker.
maybe I need to take a step back. What do you then mean by a studio director? Because don't they have to have the studios to distribute them? So I'm not
no,
understanding.
no, you
That's a
need
little
a
bit
distributor.
trickier. So
Yeah. Go
Disney
ahead, I'm
has a
sorry.
distributor, and that's Buena Vista.
Buena
And
Vista,
that's-
which is theirs, which is them.
which is theirs. So that's an in-house project. So you have so whenever you're watching a film, if you see multiple different like companies at the start, those are independent companies that have co-financed or done the production, and then you have the studios which usually facilitate the distribution. If you only see the one, like if you only see Disney's the only one that did that. If you see Marvel, then Disney, those two are the only ones that did that.
Legendary is a good example.
So
of
then,
that.
I was
what
just
would
going to
be
say
an-
that with Warner
so
Brothers.
What would be an example then of a studio director? Is that like James Cameron?
No.
No,
he's
that's more like Christopher Nolan.
I was
Nolan,
just about to
yeah.
say Nolan, because they just
Yeah.
signed him up for a multi-picture deal.
Yeah,
So that's
I mean,
at a major studio.
Spielberg used to be like the equivalent of that. Like he was the
Yes.
guy that
Like Warner Brothers or Fox would hire, or Universal would hire Amblin, and then
Amblin,
that came with Steven Spielberg, and he would do his own thing.
wow.
Robert Rodriguez has Troublemaker Studios, so that's what's all of his films have usually been done by. If he ever gets into a partnership with another studio or another director, like for instance when he did Planet Terror and Death Proof, like those things, that was through the Weinsteins and Dimension and all them. That's still considered an independent film.
Really?
Alita Battle Angel was the closest thing he got to a studio film, but that
Yeah,
was
I saw he directed it.
Cameron.
he directed it and co-wrote
Yeah.
it with James Cameron and a bunch of other people.
Okay.
It's still
Hey.
Lightstorm. So this is the thing. It's like there are times when things are married, but there are times when it's a production house that does something and then it's distributed by the studio or distribution group like Buena Vista. But it happens all the time. I mean, it's again, scot-free. That's Ridley Scott, right? I mean,
Right.
you have like these groups that they have the power and the ability to get their own financing, and all they need is the third element, which is the distribution. So
Culture,
it's
you
just-
want to know something funny though?
Yeah. What's up?
You know how I learned all this knowledge? Y'all
This-
don't laugh at me, but I know y'all gonna laugh at me. This is how I learned all this type of knowledge from watching Entourage.
Oh
Yeah.
wow!
It's not a
That
horrible
tells you some
place.
stuff, yeah. That's a good start to get your feet wet. Yeah.
Then what about? But isn't Filoni, because he loves Star Wars? Isn't he protecting it with Favreau? The
I wouldn't
story?
say he's protecting it. He's kind of usurping it for his own
Yes.
ego.
I thought he was like
Favreau
our
is
man on the
middle.
inside.
No, Favreau
He's
would
not
be the guy.
He's not good for you.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Favreau would be the guy that's the closest to good for you at this point. And I really thought Robert and Favreau would be good at this. And maybe I'm going to be wrong.
But Filoni's
Again,
also involved too. It's 'cause
yeah, well, I
Filoni-
fucking hate Filoni.
Well,
But
how
anyway,
do I have the wrong idea of him? I didn't mean to cut you off because
No, that's fair.
I kept watching him every year and the passion
Because
that
the
he kept
Clone War
showing.
cartoon. He headed the Clone War cartoon, which
was
a lot of people liked. I didn't. I thought it was.
I've never seen
not
it yet.
Star Wars.
I'm waiting to see it all.
And then he self-appointed himself as basically the number 2, the protege to George Lucas, which has never really been confirmed or supported by George Lucas himself.
That's what I kept hearing, that he was.
He never said, because he never actually said anything positive about other people in his company with regards to who should take over Star Wars. Not that I know of. If there is something else, please point it out. I'd love to hear it.
Script, I love you, man, because you know why I didn't get into the Clone Wars animated series? You know why I never got into it? Because
why not?
It gave me childhood trauma. Okay, Anakin reminds me of Chucky.
Oh boy.
Because of the cheeks and the weird animation style.
And anything that looks like Chucky, I can't watch it. So I can't watch the Clone Wars animated series, man. He looked like Chucky, man. Watch Anakin Skywalker on that show when he get mad, bro. He looks like
he's got a big plastic face.
It just looks weird, man. Now the Clone Wars that came before that was by Gennady Tartakovsky, the guy that do Samurai, Samurai Jack. I love that, man. That was like flawless victory, but they got rid of it. But I want to know something real quick with my boy at the bottom, Renegade. Renegade, what did you think about the show, the first episode?
Of Boba Fett. Back to that.
Yes, sir.
I watched it. I'm kind of like most people right now. I'm like, okay, wait and see. Like what Culture said about, getting to episode 3. It's funny because it's exactly what I told Nick over at Echo Base last night. They were trying to get feedback and reactions, and obviously everybody on Echo Base, it's a whole Star Wars fan channel. Trying to get people's reactions, and some people were like, man, some people were, oh, I loved it and all this, and I said the same thing. I'm like, I'm willing to give it a shot. Episode 1, it didn't wow me, but at the same time,
did it turn you off?
No, it didn't turn me off. It didn't turn me off at all. It didn't really suck me in. But again, look, it was written by Favreau. I don't know if that's going to be every episode. I haven't really looked at them all. But it's enough to where I'm like, okay, I'm going to watch episode 2 and 3. But the comment I made to Nick over at Echo Base was they need to get this running by episode 3 hard.
Funny. You know what's really funny? That's exactly what everybody else who watched the show said.
I said the same yesterday.
Everybody's like, oh, I got to give it another chance.
Because it's supposed to be.
It's a 7-part limited series. So it's, at least as far as we know right now. Now
it felt to me like it was the one they played the other night. It felt like it should have been like a 15-minute kind of, I don't know if it, like episode 0. Like it wasn't. If you cut everything out,
we basically got exactly what I thought we would get. I knew we would. They would finally put on screen, Boba escaping the Sarlacc pit. That was it. And that's how the show opened. And honestly, that's exactly what I expected to see.
Right.
Shout out to Latino Slant in the chat. Sorry.
Oh, hey, Paul.
They gave us the shout. They gave us the some bits from after Return of the Jedi. Then again, the rest of it from the end sequence of the final episode of season 2 of The Mandalorian. But the part that I liked, like to me, the whole respect thing, if that goes past episode 2 and 3, it will kill it because he's Boba Fett. I mean, I was expecting space spaghetti western meets Godfather.
I think it could still go there. I part of me when I saw the previews for it or the trailers and everybody's complaining about the line where he says I'm going to rule with respect and all this. My reaction to that was it's Boba Fett. He's probably lying through his teeth right now. This is going to, I mean, and that's the red herring.
Right.
And then I think it's like, I'm going to lure everybody in and trap you. And then
that's what I see. I'm with you. Right there. That's why I'm
wrong. That was just my initial reaction. Me personally.
Oh, dude, I really, you know what? In the world's perfect situation, you'd be right. But I'm sorry. That's not what you're gonna get here, dude.
I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying when I first saw the trailer, that was my initial reaction. Was that
well, in the words of a good man named Gary, hope is not a strategy. But let's get to some of these super chats here. I'm so sorry, Valiant. Mikey Gussler says, I think we can all agree that we rather have George Lucas back in charge instead of the current regime. Worst case scenario, even. Werewolf says Dark Horse Comics did a story where Leia gets trained by Vader and Palpatine, but she, Luke, and Vader defeat him when she's revealed as a Skywalker. Yeah, isn't that one of the what if stories, kind of basically?
Yeah, that's where she goes to Dagobah instead of Luke.
Yeah, I remember that one. I think I used to have it, but I think I might have it digitally now, but I don't think I have it in regular anymore. Then I just want to make sure I didn't miss any more super chats from before this. This was a good one. What No Graphics wants to know what Most popular 2022 only TV movie figure will be who do we think it will be? That's a good question. I mean, Tom Holland's pretty hot right now.
TV movie only. Nathan Drake will
That's what I was
probably
gonna say. When Hollins does that, I mean, that's gonna
Uncharted. Yeah, I think you're going to see Uncharted do better than I suspect it will. I think Doctor Strange is going to disappoint. In fact, I think the rest of the Marvel slate this year is going to be sad.
I think Doctor Strange is going to be the dopest one.
Oh, dude, I want you to be right. Fatal, you've no idea.
You're right.
But
6 weeks of reshoots, bro. 6 weeks.
Yeah, but I think this is going to be that dark Marvel right here. You know what I mean?
That would be great. But what he's saying, but what the problem is I think it was woke before they started.
Wait.
Well, I do know that in
and then Thor: Love and Thunder. Come on, the comics never sold. They were just a complete disappointment.
We're about 5 hours away from Cobra Kai season 4. I know that.
That's true. Look, I gotta run. I hate to do this. I just want to.
I'll be following you soon, Culture. I'm gonna hop in and say hello.
We gotta go to comics.
Oh my god,
everybody over there. I just want to finish up on the super chats here.
No, and absolutely. I just want to ask Script this one question. Did you see the script for Strange?
No, I haven't seen it. It's been tight.
I know it's inside. I know it's inside. But all right. Well, if I come up with something, I'll send you something. Okay.
All right. Thanks.
Anyway, I gotta go.
I'll see you guys in a bit.
All right, Culture.
Later, Culture.
Okay,
Bye, Culture.
I gotta get going.
All right, I'll see you too in a
Bye,
bit.
George.
Thank you, Tom.
Later, George.
Jay, pleasure meeting you, Jesse.
Pleasure, brother.
Great to see you again, sir.
Terminus Est here says Fatal could have reviewed this episode while he was on the toilet because it's turning out to be the book of Boba Fett.
Now, how do you know Fatal's not on the toilet?
Hey, but Terminus, he came out with a good idea. He said, if you think a movie or a TV show is bad, he said, why don't you do it on the toilet? I'm actually considering doing that. So
the Fatal J's crapshoot.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm giving him idea script.
See, I'm gonna have to pay this man, and I'm gonna have to pay Terminus for coming up with these brilliant ideas, man.
Yeah. And then Warwolf says, Star Wars Infinity's 3 different stories. Yep, Dagobah's different story in the same collection, though. There you go. So, yep.
But like I said, maybe we talking too soon. It could pick up. I'm a big fan of Robert Rodriguez. Maybe this was just a dud right here. But Renegade, you said it need to pick up by episode 3. No, it need to pick up by episode 2. Because if you only got 6 episodes and an hour long, you got a lot of work to do to win us over.
They're not even hour long, so that's the other part that's tragic.
Too. Not even an hour long.
Really, 30 minutes once you cut out all the credits.
What's also terrible is that Robert Rodriguez's first foray into this franchise was a script that was not even like 17 pages, and he had to fill it up with action sequences because it wasn't long enough. I mean, that's not a great foundation to start on. And then when you bring him in, he's like, and you're expecting him to, knock something out, and we get kind of a very pedestrian, mechanical, story that's split between 5 years ago and now. It just gives me really bad Greg Berlanti Green Arrow vibes from the CW. I don't want to see that.
Me either.
But with that, then I do want to thank Jay for coming on tonight and being our guest.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure and honor always.
We'll have you back again real soon, of course, whenever we can work it out. Of course, check out his channel, check out Script's channel, check out Valiant's channel, check out Jesse's channel, check out Culture's channel, check out George's channel, check out Robert's channel, the Burnett Network. Did I forget anybody?
Yeah, real quick. Cobra Kai is coming out tomorrow.
Yes,
is
sir.
There going to be a round table?
I'm going to talk to Andre about that. It's a good question, Jesse. I would assume
You'll be awake as soon as it drops.
Tomorrow.
The only TV show that I binge and don't feel crappy about myself when I'm done watching it.
Dude, Terry Silver. And he was about a foot taller than Priest,
I'm going to sleep tonight, but I'm going to be up till 7 in the morning watching it probably. But yeah,
Does it drop like midnight on Netflix?
Midnight Pacific time, 3 a.m. Eastern.
I'm not sleeping. Me and my son having a late night cinema.
I'm gonna have it on tomorrow while I'm at the office. I'll binge it the whole time I'm there. The last day of the year,
I'm gonna watch it tonight, just like I did season 2 and 3, all in one fell swoop.
Yeah, me too. But tomorrow, not at 3 a.m.
You can't fucking stop me.
I'm not even gonna
show.
try. He's gonna be running MEAD radio from midnight to 3 a.m. until it
No,
comes on.
I'm gonna hop over to comics actually here for a little bit. I threw the link in the chat. You guys head on over there. Tell them Midnight's Edge After Dark sent you. I'll pop in there for a little bit, and then I'm gonna watch me some Cobra Kai. But I'll keep you posted, Jesse, on anything that comes up. I'm sure a lot of people will be doing some Cobra Kai
Yeah, I
streams.
mean, everybody's going to be talking about this show for at least a week and a half.
Yeah, Paulie might even be doing something. So, with that though, I want to thank all you guys so much. I want to thank you guys in the chat. You guys make this happen. If it wasn't for you, we'd be sitting here talking to ourselves like a bunch of nuts. So we appreciate that. I want to thank all the members, all the super chatters, all those who hit like, all those who hit share. And if you want to dislike the video, that's fine. I can't see it no more. So I can't.
Hey, yeah, that's making me real cocky.
You know, you can put that back on, but it's so hard to find in the freaking YouTube settings, and you would have to do it for every single thing.
You can go into like individual videos and look, but I ain't got time for that business.
Thank you, YouTube, for making me not feel self-conscious about myself.
Basically.
And I love how you're still broadcasting from your alternate location.
Head on over to comics, guys.
Secret location, man.
Secret location.
Which, of course, in German means